West Indiana and Wisconsin. Roof, siding, windows, doors, gutters, basically everything for your home or business, even solar. Quality work and professional services that make you feel great about your decision to work with Crosscom.
Call Crosscom.
630-871-5500. Give them a chance to earn your business. If your repairs are due to storm, fire, or flood damage, you need to
call Crosscom.
They're licensed public adjusters. They work for you, not the insurance company. Crosscom will work to get you the money you deserve, the maximum payout. They know the insurance companies and how to deal with them. They win for you.
Call Crosscom.
Crosscom Construction and Public Adjusters.
This is Dan Lights with Crosscom. You can trust us with your home or business for high-quality work and fair prices. It's the only way we do business.
630-871-5500. CrosscomPublicAdjusters.com.
Business owners, now's the time for your business to make the move to a locally owned business bank. Hi, Mike Gallagher here to let you know that you don't have to look far. Signature Bank was founded in Chicago with a simple mission: to help companies like yours grow, succeed, and thrive. Their decisions are made locally by a terrific team that knows your name, cares about your business, and invests in your success. That's why Signature Bank is my bank. I'm a customer. As business owners, they knew that local family-owned businesses were not getting the help they needed or deserved. So I invite you to reach out to my friends at Signature Bank today. Write the number down. Remember this phone number, Signature Bank, 773-467-5630, and learn all about this great bank, 773-467-5630, or visit them online at signaturebank.bank. That's signaturebank.bank. Signature Bank makes commercial banking personal. Member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Febreze.
It's a classic odor tale. You fried fish for dinner, cleaned up, but the smell is still in the house. And the neighbors are coming over for game night. They're on their way. And then you spray Febreze Air Mist. Febreze Air starts working instantly to fight even your toughest odors, so you go from fish to fresh like that. Now all you have to worry about is Pam cheating at charades.
Breathe happy, Febreze, la 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 la.
Progressive's Teen Driver discount could lower the cost of insurance for your teenager and save you some money. And then you can still spend money on them. Because just when you think you have a grasp on spending, new sneakers. And then it's money for a school field trip. And of course, spending money. Oh yeah, and a new phone to replace the one they dropped in the toilet. Oh, don't remind me. So just get Progressive's Teen Driver discount. And then you can continue to spend money on them endlessly. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Discount not available in all states and subject to terms and conditions.
A great smile can make you feel happy and confident. So when you consciously conserve your teeth, that glowing smile will show through. At Best Dental Group, doctors Economos, Gay Vallis, and their staff are ready to help you create that perfect look or maintain the one you have now. Along with general dentistry, Best Dental Group is a multidiscipline practice with an orthodontist, periodontist, and prosthetic specialists on site. They use the newest breakthroughs in dental technology such as titanium implants, Invisalign clear braces, and laser treatments. Don't let fear get in the way. They can recommend sedation to make your experience as comfortable as possible. Best Dental Group is located in historic downtown Bartlett and is a multilingual office. Call 630-830-4930, 630-830-4930, or visit bestdental.org. Best Dental Group, sharing your conservative values and helping you to conserve your teeth.
When it comes to buying, selling, and investing in real estate, experience matters. Communication matters. Results matter. That's why you should call Tom Cunningham. Tom is a licensed real estate broker with eXp Realty with 25 years in the business. Clients trust Tom for his expertise, doing what he says, sometimes more, and making real estate simple again. He'll make your number one goal his number one goal, listening to your needs and bringing you excellent investment opportunities. Tom Cunningham lives by the Get by Giving philosophy, working hard toward a common good. For more, visit TomCRealty.com or call or text for a meeting, 708-369-7625. Remember, experience matters when it comes to buying, selling, and investing in real estate. Get the expertise of Tom Cunningham, eXp Realty. That's 708-369-7625, TomCRealty.com. Happy days, Cunningham. Make sure you have the results you're looking for.
Diabetes, high blood pressure, anxiety meds, everyone's on them. If you're a 50-year-old male, maybe a bit porky, and you may even have type 2 diabetes, $1 million of term insurance may only cost you about $200 a month. Call Term Provider. Speak with Big Lou at 800-367-2816. Big Lou will find a term life policy for you even if you have type 2 diabetes, are overweight, or have high blood pressure. Term Provider has helped thousands of people like you who think they can't afford term life insurance. To buy $1 million of affordable term life for you, all you need to do is call Big Lou at 800-367-2816. Lou will make sure the scales are tipped in your favor. Call 800-367-2816. Big Lou will answer your call and work to fit you into a term life policy that you can afford. Remember, Big Lou's like you. He's on meds too. Call 800-367-2816 or biglou.com.
Did you know that AM 560 Radio has a full-service digital marketing division called Salem Surround? If you're a business decision maker, listen up. AM 560 listeners are everywhere your potential audience is. So are our incredible targeting capabilities. We localize digital marketing and put it within reach of every business, small and large, in Chicagoland and beyond. Salem Surround offers AI-powered marketing solutions that reach your ideal audience. Whether or not you tap into the proven live, local, and emotional connection that AM 560 Radio brings, Salem Surround offers a total marketing solution to our partners. All-in-one digital solutions that provide targeted local digital and social media ads, Google AdWords management, website services, video strategy, search optimization, and even a management dashboard to offer you total campaign updates and transparency. Your Salem Surround representative is located right here in Chicago. Experience the Salem Surround digital revolution today. Call 847-472-8951. That's 847-472-8951.
Did you know a will alone does not keep your family out of court when you die? The court still has to approve your will, but get a living trust, and your estate can be settled clearly without issue. Talk to the attorneys at Nauman & Associates. They prepare wills and trusts for a flat fee, no surprises, no hourly rate. With decades of experience, they know the law and offer a free consultation. Contact Nauman & Associates in Elk Grove Village, nalawgroup.com. Call 847-593-8777.
If you need custom boxes and crates, expert packing and crating, import-export transloading with heavy lift capability, the DC Group delivers. It all started 51 years ago with DC Export and Domestic Packing, the hard work of founders Dominic and Carol Cochamiglio. Their family's desire to exceed customer expectations, backed by an incredible team and loyal customers, is now driving expansion. From their humble roots in a garage-sized building to 100,000 square feet in the Chicago area, 45,000 in Greenville, and a new Houston facility, they're coast to coast. And their sister company, DC Transport, handles everything from container drayage to super heavy haul loads across North America since 1991. Whether it's packing and crating, transloading, transportation service, or trade shows, the DC Group delivers. Those that attended FabTech 2025, we'd love to hear from you. Get your quote now at dcexport.com. That's dcexport.com, your trusted logistics partner.
When the power goes out, life stops. Heat, AC, fridge, phones, all gone. But with a Generac home standby generator from True Power Generator Service, your home powers back on automatically, so you're never left in the dark. Book your consultation today at truepowergenerator.com. That's truepowergenerator.com. Plus, 560 listeners get a free 10-year extended warranty. Terms and conditions apply. Call for details. True Power Generator Service and Generac. It's not just a generator, it's a power move.
A voice for the new right, charting a new path forward for American conservatism. It's the Josh Hammer Show.
What is the alternative to engaging with your political opponents? To hearing out their criticism in as happy warrior-like fashion as you can have it. The day that we replace that with, God forbid, with violence, that's how republics die. There is nothing good down that road.
The Josh Hammer Show on the Salem Podcast Network. Subscribe today on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or at SalemPodcastNetwork.com.
It's hard to find a nursing home where Christ-centered care is provided. For over 130 years, Lutheran Life has served the needs of seniors at the Lutheran Home in Arlington Heights. With chaplains on full-time duty, the Lutheran Home provides spiritual support as your loved ones confront the hard realities of aging. Our nurses will care for your bodies, and our chaplains will care for your souls. Find out how by visiting LutheranLifeCommunities.org today. That's LutheranLifeCommunities.org.
Now, your official weather forecast.
Today will be windy with a mix of clouds and sun. You may need a jacket as the high will reach 54. Tonight will be clear to partly cloudy and breezy with a low of 43. Tomorrow, expect a breezy day with a mix of clouds and sun and a high of 55. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
Portions of the following show may be pre-recorded.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Goldilocks, offering smart security systems to homes and businesses. Call Goldilocks at 708-889-5600.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. And so, Jimmy Comer's House Oversight Committee published its final report yesterday on the AutoPen investigation. The look into the big guy's use of his AutoPen for executive orders, for pardons and grants of clemency, or his lack of use. Its employment by someone other than the president, and perhaps without the president's acquiescence, which is the real issue, I think. We'll talk to Andy McCarthy about this and other legal matters a little bit later in the show, but it's not so much the use of the AutoPen for the signing of an executive order or a pardon or a grant of clemency. Was this authorized, and is there some memorialization that the president indicated that he wanted to issue this pardon, that he wanted to sign this executive order, or was somebody acting on his behalf without his knowledge and essentially usurping the powers of the presidency, an unelected staffer usurping the powers of the presidency? That would be problematic in terms of the force of those alleged presidential actions. That's the crux of the matter, right? After 3 months of investigations that included interviews with senior aides, you'll hear some snippets momentarily, and a couple of former chiefs of staffs too, Jeff Zients and Ron Klain, particularly important. Comer has referred the matter to the Department of Justice. He believes that many of the president's AutoPen orders were in fact invalid. In a statement, Comer said the Biden AutoPen presidency will go down as one of the biggest political scandals in U.S. history. As Americans saw President Biden's decline with their own eyes, Biden's inner circle sought to deceive the public, cover up his decline, and took unauthorized executive actions with the AutoPen that are now invalid. Executive actions performed by Biden White House staff and signed by AutoPen are null and void. We're calling on the Department of Justice to conduct a thorough review of these executive actions and scrutinize key Biden aides who took the fifth to hide their participation in the cover-up. We have now provided Americans with transparency about the Biden AutoPen presidency. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line, as well as text line. Here is part of a video that Jimmy Comer and the House Oversight boys released that essentially sums some of the key moments in testimony provided by former Biden White House staffers, as well as not provided by both Biden's doctor as well as other White House staffers who, as he indicated in that statement, chose to invoke their Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination, which is always an interesting choice. So here is somebody we talked about last week. Maybe it was earlier this week. The days run together. Neera Tanden, long-time flack for Joe Obama, both the Obama presidencies as well as Biden's. Actually, I think dating back to the Clintons. You'll hear from her. Jeff Zients, who was a chief of staff. Ron Klain, who was a chief of staff and longtime confidant. And then Anita Dunn, who is a senior aide and longtime political flack for Biden as well.
Yes, I noticed that he was aging in terms of his physical condition. I noticed that, he shuffled more.
But he has more stumbling over words and gaffes than he did at the beginning of the term.
His rhetorical skills were not as strong as they had been.
and his speeches were less effective, I thought.
We talked about age. We knew it was an issue, and we tried to design a strategy.
We had a discussion at the senior advisor level about whether the president should have a cognitive exam.
That's interesting from Anita Dunn. We had a discussion at the senior aide level about whether or not the president should have a cognitive exam. So it's more than just at the senior aide level, meaning the inner circle level. It's more than just, he's maybe lost half a step. He's shuffling more. He's a little bit more gaffe prone. When you're talking about a cognitive test, they're basically, Anita Dunn was indicating, we don't have confidence, or at least we're not sure this guy can go on, / that we can prop this guy up for the rest of the campaign, much less another 4 years in the office. That admission by Anita Dunn is very interesting. And then you had a gaggle of aides, like I said, including Biden's doctor, when asked about whether or not, for example, he believed that Biden still could perform the duties of the President of the United States. I invoke my Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination.
Were you ever told to lie about the president's health?
The advice of counsel, I must respectfully decline to answer based upon the physician-patient privilege and in reliance on my right under the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution.
Let the record reflect that Dr. O'Connor has invoked the Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination. Dr. O'Connor, did you ever believe the president was unfit to execute his duties as president?
And we can tell you that he will have the same answer with respect to any questions that are asked.
Did any unelected official or family member of President Joe Biden execute the duties of the presidency? Did Joe Biden, a member of his family?
Mm-hmm. And to questions like that, you had the invocation of the Fifth, at least from those staffers that were interviewed. At least from those staffers that were interviewed. The other staffers, same questions were asked, and you get a lot of the classic, I don't recall, not to my knowledge, those sorts of answers. Andrew Bates was a deputy White House press secretary. He was, talk about living in sort of a permanent insult. He was second in command to KJP. How would you like to be KJP's underling? Second in command to KJP in a White House spokeswoman's office. Andrew Bates on the Hunter Biden pardon.
Were you in favor of Hunter Biden getting a pardon?
Yes.
Did you ever ask Joe Biden if the allegations regarding his son were true?
No.
No, why would I? Ian Sams, who was another communications flack for Biden. You saw him on occasion when KJP was, traveling with the president or something like this. Ian Sams, he was one of those guys that was out, like they all were. The president on the debate stage. That's not the Joe Biden that I know. That's not the Joe Biden I interacted with. That's not the Joe Biden I speak with on a daily basis. He's probing, he's exacting, he's inquisitive, he brings so much to the table. I don't want to get whistled into his office, says KJP, because I knew he was going to rake me over the coals to give me historical perspective, tour de force on whatever issue was salient in the moment. Sure. Ian Sams was one of those guys saying the same things, except he never really had access to Biden, according to his own testimony.
How often would you say that you interacted with the president in person?
I interacted with him pretty infrequently. I think I met with the president a handful of times during my tenure in the White House.
I've got to say, that doesn't look anything like the president that I know. When I deal with him, he's sharp, he's asking tough questions. That's the President Biden that so many of us experience every single day.
You don't think it's missing some context?
I don't.
Yeah, so they play back his own statements to him. You think that's missing any context when you say that's not the president I interact with every day, and you just testified that you interacted with him infrequently, maybe a handful of times you talked to him during his presidency, but you're presenting yourself as an authority on what Joe Biden is like on a daily basis? There was also a moment where Ron Klain is asked about Biden's cognitive decline, and he sort of gives a deep breath and a knowing deep breath and a sigh as well. On the auto pen,
they stole the presidency of the United States.
Do you know who the people who were actually operated the auto pen were?
I do not.
Do you know
Jeff
any of
Zients.
the actual staff who were using the auto pen?
No.
You don't know their names?
No.
Have you never seen a decision memo laying out the breakdown of when the president should hand sign a particular set of documents?
Not prior to prep.
Did he hand sign all executive orders?
He did not. He hand signed many executive orders, but he did not hand sign all executive orders.
Can you read your response?
I approve the use of the auto pen for the execution of all the following pardons. Thanks, Jay-Z.
Did you yourself write this email?
I do not believe I did.
That auto pen was used excessively, and yet no one can say for certain that Joe Biden was given the orders to use the auto pen.
That's Jim Comer with commentary at the end. Jay-Z, Jeff Zients, was a chief of staff. They read him, as you heard there, a memo that he allegedly authored, signed Jay-Z, saying essentially that Biden has conferred the authority to use the auto pen for this executive order. Did you write that memo? I don't know. I don't think so. Well, then who did? Nobody knows. This is the nobody knows how, who authorized what, who used the auto pen, who what the process was. Nobody knows, so that everybody can cover each other's behinds. It's just the auto pen used itself. The process executed itself. Greg in Schaumburg, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Good morning, Dan. Could you cover, now that it's a DOJ referral, what the steps are or the process is to really bring nullification to all of these? Meaning that, is it an act of Congress? Is it a lawsuit on en masse, or is it a lawsuit on each individual instance of the supposed pen being used?
I would say that that the Department of Justice lawyers would have to go to court. They would have to present a case arguing that these orders should be nullified based on this interpretation of what the president's legitimate use of the auto pen is. That there, and I assume the argument would be there has to be some indication, some substantiation that this auto pen was used, if not by the president, then it was at his direction. And if we don't have any evidence of that, if there's no substantiation to that, then those orders, including pardons and grants of clemency, should be nullified, and you're going to have to get a court to agree to that. And it probably ends up going to the Supreme Court, because there really isn't clarity from the court, the highest court, on this issue. There's legal opinions that past White House counsels have presented, as we've talked about on this issue, including the W. White House, that suggested, yes, the president can use the auto pen. W chose never to do it, despite that essential legal opinion that he could. But again, you have to. It has to be used where there is clear indication that this is is being done at the president's doing, either by the president himself using the auto pen or somebody that he has directed to do. And that, to me, is the issue. So any instance where you can't substantiate that this was directed by Biden to do it should be nullified. Additionally, this is much more difficult to prove after the fact, but one could say if he didn't have the cognitive ability to make those decisions, then all of those orders should be nullified regardless of the use of the auto pen or not the auto pen. That would be a much more difficult case, because you have to go back and put yourself in that real moment of what his cognitive state was when those decisions were being made. Now, maybe if you compelled Kevin O'Connor, his doctor, to testify, maybe you could get there. But I mean, to me, those are the two arguments.
And the last question is this, is that if that does happen, and if it does get to the Supreme Court and they do rule against Biden, does that mean that their DOJ can go after each one of the people who received the pardon from Biden?
Well, I would. That's an interesting argument. Thanks for the call, Greg. I would say yes. But if there's a statute of limitations issue, then you're going to have to get a court to also agree that the statute of limitations told such that because there was a fraud perpetrated, you have to go back to that moment, and the statute of limitations should not continue running during the time that this fraud, the effect of this fraud, was manifest. That's what I would guess you would have to argue. We'll get into that, like I said, with McCarthy at the bottom of the 6 o'clock hour. Vince and Waukegan, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hi, Dan. Yeah, I was just wondering, why are we even using an auto pen? If somebody's not in a state of physical health or mental health to be able to sign a document, then it shouldn't be signed.
Yeah, thanks for the call. I think it's more just a matter of convenience with the number of documents that a president signs. Trump always makes a big show of signing executive orders. He signs them himself, and that's great. But I think it's more of a matter of convenience. But now maybe, given the apparent abuse under the last president, maybe that's going to be a mode of convenience that is discarded going forward. All right, coming up at 5:38, incredibly, another fatality on Illinois roads at the hands of another person in this country illegally in Illinois. We'll have it at 5:38. Now we check the headlines.
Good morning. It is 49 degrees in Chicago on AM 560 The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the AM 560 newsroom. Attorney General Kwame Roll joined a coalition of 26 attorneys general and governors in filing a lawsuit against the United States Department of Agriculture for suspending the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, or SNAP program. Roll and the coalition argued that the agency has access to billions of dollars in SNAP-specific contingency funds appropriated by Congress for use during events like government shutdowns. The coalition says the USDA has funded other programs with emergency funds during the shutdown, but has refused to fund SNAP. The state of Illinois and Cook County are appealing a recent denial of a presidential disaster declaration that was requested by Governor J.B. Pritzker. That request was to seek federal assistance for severe flooding that happened across our state in July and August. As part of the appeal process, additional assessments will be conducted this week. News is sponsored by Lowe's. Lowe's knows you want to spend less time shopping and more time on the job site. With bulk savings on select pro-trusted drywall and concrete mixes from Lowe's, you save big and you're always ready for the next job. Lowe's, we help you save. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next minute.
Get your tickets for Freedom Summit Chicago 2025, happening on Saturday, November 8th at Westin Chicago Northwest in Itasca. This year, featuring Dr. Ben Carson, Scott Jennings, Mike Gallagher, along with Dan Proft, Sean Thompson, John Anthony, and many more. This event will sell out fast, so get your tickets today at freedomsummitchicago.com. That's freedomsummitchicago.com. Sponsored in part by Quick Delivery Service Incorporated and by Virago.
Our veterans are our heroes. They answered the call to defend our freedom, putting their lives on the line for our nation. But today, thousands of those brave men and women are facing something no hero should ever face: food insecurity. That's where Farm to Veteran comes in. Through the Fulcrum Farm Foundation, this remarkable organization delivers farm-fresh, nutritious food directly to veterans in need through veteran services and organizations. From greenhouse-grown produce to eggs, they're ensuring our heroes have access to the high-quality food they deserve. But Farm to Veteran can't do it alone. They need our help. Your financial contribution directly supports their mission to feed more veterans across their growing network of partner farms nationwide. And there's another way you can make a difference. Join them at their upcoming community events. Visit farmtoveteran.com today. That's veteran.com to donate or learn about events near you. Because those who served our country shouldn't have to wonder where their next meal is coming from. Let's stand with those who stood for us. That's veteran.com.
It's Cybersecurity Awareness Month, and LifeLock is here with tips to help protect your identity. Use strong passwords, set up multi-factor authentication on your accounts, report phishing, and update your software on all your devices. And for comprehensive identity protection, LifeLock is your best choice. LifeLock not only alerts you to suspicious uses of your personal information, but also fixes identity theft, guaranteed, or your money back. So stay smart, stay safe, and stay protected with a 30-day free trial at LifeLock.com. Use the promo code BECK. Terms to apply.
Here's the tale of the Daily Medfill. Same old pharmacy, same old bill, but those prices kept rising higher still.
Till the savings wrangler rode in, cool as can be. Tap GoodRx, saving massively.
No plan? Don't matter none. Up to 80% off. Deals are done.
Discounts hitting harder than Ma's chili. Dang. That one little laugh does all the rest.
Save time and money on prescriptions.
Check GoodRx. GoodRx is not insurance.
Picture this. You're halfway through a DIY car fix and boom, you're missing a part. It's okay, because whatever it is, it's on eBay. And it's guaranteed to fit every time. eBay. Things people love.
Now, your official weather forecast.
Today will be windy with a mix of clouds and sun. A jacket will be useful. The high will reach 54. Tonight will be clear to partly cloudy and breezy with a low of 43. Tomorrow, expect a mix of clouds and sun with a high of 55 and breezy conditions. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. Get your tickets for Freedom Summit Chicago 2025, featuring Dr. Ben Carson, Scott Jennings, Mike Gallagher, and many more. Get your tickets today at freedomsummitchicago.com.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. So yesterday, the big story as it pertains to the enforcement of federal immigration law, the removal of people in this country illegally, with emphasis on those who are public safety threats. Big story, if you consume Chicago media coverage, was ICE Commander Greg Bovino in federal court being chastised by Judge Ellis about the use of tear gas and other measures that ICE has used to disperse crowds, to protect ICE officers that are, being subjected to mob action on a routine basis as they go about trying to execute their jobs. And again, this is not to say anybody is above the law and that their judgment is beyond reproach. I'm talking about ICE. Their judgment is not beyond reproach. No one is above the law. If they cross the line, then that should be noted and dealt with appropriately and proportionally. But so should the attention to this matter be dealt with appropriately and proportionally, this larger matter. ICE is not fundamentally a public safety threat. Unvetted people in this country illegally, particularly since we know from the data of the hundreds of thousands that have been apprehended so far by ICE, 70% of whom have been convicted of crimes in addition to being here illegally, or are facing charges in addition to being here illegally. So you tell me who the public safety threat is. You tell me what the proportional coverage of this should be when the issue is, with respect to ICE, tear gas to disperse a crowd, or, the alleged manhandling of someone who maybe didn't cross the line into a less than peaceful protest, but certainly is part of a mob that is at minimum antagonizing. And you have a right to antagonize, and you have a right to say impertinent things to officers in prosecuting your case and expressing your conscience. I get it. I'm 100% supportive. But we just had a couple killed by a person in this country illegally driving drunk in East Central Illinois that we discussed yesterday, and 2 others injured. And there's no coverage of up here in Chicago. But you don't think that can happen in Chicago? And there's this other case I wanted to bring to your attention that I teased before the news, because and I apologize for this. Somehow I missed this case when it occurred back in August. The mother of former WNBA star Sophie Bruner one of two people killed in a double fatal crash in Stevenson County. This is back the beginning of the second week of August. The preliminary investigation at the time, she's driving a Ford Edge northbound. She's struck head-on by a Nissan Altima driven by a native of Guatemala who was in this country illegally. The Altima crossed into the northbound lane, and both drivers were killed in the crash. So he's here illegally. He veers into oncoming traffic, and he kills WNBA's star Sophie Bruner's mother in Stevenson County. The indications that Bruner not at fault. And there's more to it than that. The state senator out there, Andrew Chesney of Freeport, the Guatemalan native in this country illegally in question, multiple DUI offender, was known to the Department of Homeland Security. He said at the time that the sanctuary state law in Illinois prevented law enforcement from deporting him. He said at the time, actually, John Cabela, the state rep from the area in McChesney Park, said at the time, I hold J.B. Pritzker personally responsible. I hold the Democrats personally responsible. A life was taken by someone who shouldn't have been here. We find there was a warrant for this man's arrest. If we find there was a warrant for this man's arrest, we all need to rise up and we need to demand resignations from our elected officials. But he was known. He shouldn't have been here, and that mom, Ms. Bruner, is another fatality, another name on the list of people who have been killed by people who shouldn't have been here. Another name on the list of people who are no longer here because the political ruling class in this state chose not to even attempt to prevent eminently preventable crimes. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. And text line. I just didn't want that to go without passing. And since that's only 2 months old, we talk about Katie Abraham and her friend Chloe Polson from Deerfield killed in Urbana a lot too. I mean, we need to have some institutional memory here. I mean, one is too many, obviously, but it's a lot more than that. And as Chapin Rose, the state senator from downstate, the area in which the Claytons were killed over the weekend, that's the 5th or 6th DUI crash involving a person in this country illegally that has taken a life in that region of the state in the last 5 years. So one, again, asks the question, when are Illinois voters, law-abiding Illinois voters, going to use their votes to look out for other law-abiding Illinois voters? I don't want these names and these incidents to be forgotten. It's too easy to get pulled into whatever the Chicago press corps is doing to run interference for JB and BJ, and then you forget about what we just talked about yesterday. You forget the loss of life. You forget sort of what the overriding point of all of this is versus what their overriding point is. You allow them to distort. We lose a sense of proportion here in terms of what's important. Yes, it's important that people's First Amendment rights are respected and they can protest. They're going well beyond that in many instances, as we know. You know, by the way, there was another one yesterday. It's almost comical if this was a laughing matter, but it's really not. The manager for a comedy club was taken into custody for assaulting an ICE officer. Did you see this? Yeah. Here it is. Hold on a second. The manager of the Laugh Factory in Lakeview is facing federal assault charges after allegedly closing a car door on a Border Patrol agent's leg on Friday afternoon. Well, social media users, including the manager's mother, call the incident a kidnapping. Well, of course. Mm-hmm. According to the criminal complaint, oh, and by the way, there's body camera footage. Hey, Judge Ellis, they're using body cameras. Are you happy now? Body camera footage. Nathaniel Griffin was arrested near the intersection of Belmont and Broadway, where federal agents were searching for a body camera video, that may have fallen during an earlier investigation, during an earlier immigration enforcement arrest in the area. The body cam control footage, one of the agents who had about 5 years of service sitting in the front passenger seat of an unmarked vehicle when he began to step out. After placing his right leg outside the vehicle, the agent felt pain and pressure on his leg and saw an individual later identified as Mr. Laugh Factory outside his door, forcibly trying to close the door. When agents tried to detain Griffin, he, of course, refused to let go of the vehicle's door handle and a nearby scaffolding and passively resisted being taken into custody. And that didn't last very long, and then he was taken into custody. Not the assaulting an officer is assaulting an officer. That's a crime. But, these slights that we're supposed to obsess about as people are getting taken out on Illinois' roadways, and God knows what is yet to come, given the issues that we've discussed about the issuance of CDL licenses here, the issue of issuance of CDL licenses in other states, where you have people driving big rigs in and around Illinois as well, of course, for over-the-road truck drivers. And just the general population of people in this country illegally, some small percentage of whom are repeat violent offenders because they are gangbangers and other assorted categories of predators. We, again, talked just last week about a guy arrested 5 times. A guy, 2 sexual assaults the same day in Evanston and Rogers Park. That to me seems where our attention should be focused. But that's me. Brandon Johnson disagrees, of course. Asked about Greg Bavino, since it was big day in court and the political and media establishment so looking for that to continue with their demagoguery in the direction of ICE and have one of the politicians in robes do their bidding so they have some more fodder to distribute. This is what Brandon Johnson said.
What is happening, though, is Bavino is a barbaric individual. And I just hope that this judge provides some level of accountability.
Mm-hmm. Barbaric individual. He's the barbaric one. It's funny how the term barbaric is reserved for law enforcement officers when it comes to Brandon Johnson. I've never heard him use the term barbaric to, say, describe someone in this country illegally who sexually assaulted a woman in Evanston and then another woman in Rogers Park in the span of a few hours. Dave in Crystal Lake.
Good morning. Dan, you mentioned, the media coming into play on all this stuff. And I don't quite understand why there's not more attention brought to the executives at these media companies, the CEOs, board of directors of, Disney and all these corrupt media companies. Why isn't, forget about the reporters who are on TV. They don't run the company. Why isn't there more attention on these higher level executives? Can you answer that for me?
Well, I mean, Well, there's attention on Barry Weiss now that Paramount's taking over CBS, and she's looking to take out and Margaret Brennan because she asked a legitimate question of Hakeem Jeffries, and so now it's, oh my gosh, this right-wing takeover of our beloved institutions like CBS. We've talked about the higher-ups before, like when during the Obama years, Ben Rhodes, Obama's NSA director. NSA was, his brother was the head of CBS News. You know, and the inherent conflicts, the incestuousness of it all in D.C. between the halls of power and the legacy media companies. But I mean, the reason you focus on the reporters and what you see on screen is because those are the brand names, and what they represent is a manifestation of the leadership. So, I mean, I guess you could play it either way. But I mean, all of the talking heads that you see on CNN and MSNBC on the legacy news stations, they're a manifestation of the leadership of those companies. So what more do you need to say about it? Point of fact, it's interesting because if you want to understand the culture, like I was talking to a friend who is a reporter at one of the legacy media affiliates in Chicago. And this reporter has tried to pitch stories like, instead of just, for example, yesterday, use this as a hypothetical example, because this is what this reporter's tried to do to no avail. Okay, we're going to cover Bovino in federal court. Okay, but should we also include a story about the couple that was killed in Clark County over the weekend by a person in this country illegally? No, we shouldn't. Anyway, back to Bovino. That's how it is. And so that's the news director level at a legacy media affiliate in Chicago. And that's how it is with all these news directors. And that's how it is with all these general managers. And then you go up the food chain. And what, you want to talk about the Roberts family, for example, if you're talking about NBC, just to use NBC as an example.
That type of thing.
Yeah, but I mean, okay. So what do you want to what do you want us to do about Comcast? You want to cut your cord? Comcast also donated to the big beautiful ballroom because, of course, they're playing both sides. Is the Roberts family, are they good folk in this fight? Absolutely not. But what do you want to do about it?
Well, I guess that as the media continues to play to the one side constantly, the country is just going to just drown. And
well, thanks for the call, Dave. Again, I'm not so cynical about that. I mean, I subscribe to the famous Plato statement that those who tell the stories rule society. And that's true, but the difference now is they're not the only ones telling the stories. The problem is a bigger cultural one than the legacy media. The problem is and frankly, the media isn't the first institution I'd go to. It would be the schools. Because the schools are training people to not be intellectually curious, to not be critical thinkers. And so they get out of a government school system. No, they can't. They have their sort of talking points that have been inculcated. They haven't been exposed to a whole universe of ideas and philosophies that they should be exposed to. They have no tolerance for being exposed to different ideas or cognitive dissonance now, and they have no impulse control. It's a terrible combination. But I don't know what you do because you can't force people who have been lobotomized by the government school system, and a lot of private schools too, to sit down and watch, pick an alternative media show, to pick an alternative show or alternative site to the legacy media. You can't compel them to do this. So I guess the best that we can do with the many platforms that we have in this fragmented, increasingly atomized media landscape is be better storytellers and try to pierce through and use the platforms that do provide channels of communication, for ideas that will not be platformed by the legacy media. You know, like what Elon Musk has done at X. I mean, we've got a lot more bandwidth than we used to have 40 years ago, but of course, it's a lot worse than it was 40 years ago, too. Coming up at 6:06, we'll turn our attention to leftist violence. It's now 6 o'clock on AM 560.
President Trump is making more deals. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News, with South Korea and Japan on the third and final stop of his Asian trip.
We are all allies and friends of the U.S.
That was South Korea's president as he and other world leaders sat down to dinner with President Trump.
We'll be working together, and you have a little bit of a cloud over your country, and we're going to get that cloud solved.
Referencing North Korea and the ongoing tension over its nuclear weapons program, the president says he has a good relationship with Kim Jong-un, but an attempt to meet with North Korea's leader on this trip did not work out. Tomorrow, the president will sit down with China's leader in South Korea, talking trade and more.
One of the main issues that President Trump was to talk to Xi Jinping about is curbing the chemicals that China is exporting to Mexico, which find their way to the United States in the form of fentanyl, killing tens of thousands of Americans.
Fox's Lucas Tomlinson in South Korea. Also there, President Trump reacted to the flare-up in fighting in Gaza, saying the ceasefire he brokered is not in jeopardy.
I think it's going to hold for a long time, hopefully forever. Hopefully that's an everlasting one, too.
Israel now says the ceasefire is back on after a retaliation to a Hamas attack in violation of the agreement that Hamas denies. Palestinian officials say the Israeli strikes killed 81 people. There's a lot of damage and flooding in Jamaica the morning after Hurricane Melissa hit as one of the most powerful storms ever with 185-mile-an-hour winds. Melissa's now hitting another island.
You mentioned the second landfall. We're bracing for a third landfall later today for the Bahamas. But right now, Cuba dealing with winds of 115 miles per hour. This is still a potent Category 3 hurricane. Everything with that, the surge, the wind, and also the heavy rain.
Fox Weather's Britta Merwin. It's day 29 of the government shutdown after Democrats again blocked funding, demanding health care and other provisions. They blame Republicans for not negotiating, but GOP Senator John Kennedy tells Fox it's their fault.
They don't want to pay food stamps. They don't want to pay the military. They want to use this as leverage to gain more money to spend.
America's listening to Fox News.
WIND, Chicago.
Good morning. It is 48 degrees here in Chicago on AM 560 The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the AM 560 newsroom. We're going to see partly cloudy skies today, breezy as well. Highs topping out around 54 degrees. Hundreds of high school students from Little Village Lawndale High School left their classes yesterday and marched through their neighborhood in peaceful protest of Operation Midway Blitz. Students are asking that their schools be put into a hybrid mode as the students say they feel unsafe due to ICE agents being in their area. Meanwhile, Governor J.B. Pritzker says he opposes that idea, saying the students are safer in their schools. A missing teen has been found safe. The Wilmette Police Department put out a notice last night asking for the public's help in locating a 13-year-old from Wilmette. This morning, authorities have stated that the young man has been found safely. A new lawsuit by Democratic state officials, including those right here in Illinois, seek to uncork emergency money to help tens of millions of Americans keep buying food for their families after the federal SNAP funding is expected to run dry on Saturday due to the partial U.S. government shutdown. North Carolina's Attorney General Jeff Jackson says the government's actions are illegal.
The department said, that the reason they're not going to be funding this program anymore as of November 1st is because of the government shutdown and a lack of funds. This is not true. The truth is the department has the money. I believe the reason they're doing that is to play shutdown politics. They are looking to ratchet up the pain in an already very painful moment. This is wrong, and it's against the law.
News is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Think full mouth dental implants are too expensive? Think again. Not at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. With medical insurance, you could save thousands and receive your finally affordable dream smile. Check if you qualify today at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. A check of the roads is coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560. The Answer.
Get your tickets for Freedom Summit Chicago 2025, happening on Saturday, November 8th in Weston, Chicago, Northwest, and Itasca. This year, featuring Dr. Ben Carson, Scott Jennings, Mike Gallagher, along with Dan Proft, Sean Thompson, John Anthony, and many more. This event will sell out fast, so get your tickets today at freedomsummitchicago.com. That's freedomsummitchicago.com. Sponsored in part by Nauman and Associates, Scott Tucker Solutions Incorporated, and by Catholic Cemeteries of Chicago. Sign up for the AM 560 Answer Advantage to get early alerts on event ticket sales, special discounts, and contest opportunities. Sign up today at 560theanswer.com/advantage.
Did you know a will alone does not keep your family out of court when you die? The court still has to approve your will, but get a living trust, and your estate can be settled clearly without issue. Talk to the attorneys at Naumann & Associates. They prepare wills and trusts for a flat fee, no surprises, no hourly rate. With decades of experience, they know the law and offer a free consultation. Contact Naumann & Associates in Elk Grove Village, nalawgroup.com. Call 847-593-8777.
This month, Pure Talk is supporting Canines for Warriors, a terrific organization that trains rescue dogs and then pairs them up with combat vets struggling with PTSD. This is why I switched to Pure Talk. Sure, I like the unlimited talk, text, and plenty of 5G data for just $25 a month, and you will too. But you will love being in business with a company that shares your values. Dial pound 250, say micro, and switch to an American wireless company that actually stands for something. Pure Talk.
It's Cybersecurity Awareness Month, and LifeLock is here with tips to help protect your identity. Use strong passwords, set up multi-factor authentication on your accounts, report phishing, and update your software on all your devices. And for comprehensive identity protection, LifeLock is your best choice. LifeLock not only alerts you to suspicious uses of your personal information, but also fixes identity theft, guaranteed, or your money back. So stay smart, stay safe, and stay protected with a 30-day free trial at LifeLock.com. Use the promo code BECK. Terms do apply.
When the power goes out, life stops. Heat, AC, fridge, phones, all gone. But with a Generac home standby generator from True Power Generator Service, your home powers back on automatically, so you're never left in the dark. Book your consultation today at TruePowerGenerator.com. That's TruePowerGenerator.com. Plus, 560 listeners get a free 10-year extended warranty. Terms and conditions apply. Call for details. True Power Generator Service and Generac. It's not just a generator, it's a power move.
Gain insight into building strong marriages and raising godly children with Focus on the Family with Jim Daly each weekday at 11:30 a.m. on our sister station, AM 1160. Hope for your life.
Good morning from the Team Hochberg Traffic Center. Just about all the overnight construction cones have been picked up. Just some lingering trucks on I-80 scooping up construction equipment. For the most part, a calm start to the day. Dry pavement means good driving conditions. Inbound Kennedy starting to stack up. Right there between Nagel and Central Avenue, about a 5-minute backup in the area. Slow traffic as well if you're on the Kennedy outbound. This is between the Burn Interchange and Montrose, about an 8-minute drive. On the Edens, about a 15-minute drive if you're Lake Cook to Montrose. The Eisenhower starting to build, got some traffic build up on the outbound lanes between Harlem and Des Plaines Avenue. The Dan Ryans are moving along swiftly. It's about a 15-minute drive if you're going from 95th inbound to the Burn Interchange. And DuSable Lakeshore Drive, traffic starting to stack, but it's still a peaceful drive northbound between Bryn Mawr and Hollywood, about a 5-minute delay. Traffic is a service of Fox Valley Coins. Bring your gold or silver in store today, and each item is priced right in front of you. The coins never leave your sight. Receive cash or a check right on the spot. FoxValleyCoins.com. I'm John Cruz. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. Now check out that forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today will be windy with a mix of clouds and sun. You may need a jacket as the high will reach 54. Tonight will be clear to partly cloudy and breezy with a low of 43. Tomorrow, expect a breezy day with a mix of clouds and sun and a high of 55. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. Against the backdrop of, in particular, the New York City mayor's race, because of Marxist Mamdani's membership in the DSA, Democrat Socialists of America. And really, you have to fold in the text from Virginia Dem AG candidate Jay Jones, wishing for the death of the former Speaker of the Virginia House, wishing he could kill him, wishing that his young children would die in the arms of their mother. The nature of the text that Jay Jones sent to a colleague. Given just those illustrations of leftist violence, orientation, at least towards violence. And by the way, membership in the DSA is by definition an orientation to political violence as the means to political ends. I'll get to that in a second. In addition to the Charlie Kirk assassination, in addition to the attempted assassination of Brett Kavanaugh, in addition to the violence that you see routinely directed at law enforcement, at ICE, the videos that are online that are ubiquitous. Videos like this one.
Why are y'all not knocking their heads off? Next question. Why are y'all not popping these motherfucking tires when they try to drive off or before they get in the car? They not paying attention to their car, okay? Look, let me tell y'all something. On my backpack, I keep a knife in my backpack, okay? Just in case. And it's a big one, too, okay? Got my backpack right there. I keep it in there just in case ICE wants to come up and bother people, right? And while they busy bothering everybody, psh, 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 every single tire on that bitch. All 4 tires. They can't run. They ain't got nowhere to go. Now they sad because they can't go nowhere. Now they getting beat up by the people. Now they gotta let the person go because they can't go nowhere. Another car pull up. Psh, psh, psh. Like, you just keep it going. Just keep it going. And they won't know peace.
Yeah, videos like that. In addition to videos like that and assassinations and assassination attempts and the promotion of violence specifically and generally, and leftist podcasters like Jennifer Welch celebrating those during the No Kings March, who celebrated the assassination of Charlie Kirk and wished death on those who challenged their celebration, and send a message like this to the Democrat establishment.
Finally, if you think this Zoran thing is happening just in New York, and you think people are waking up only in New York City, you're mistaken. Look at this clip of a wine mom at the No Kings March. Play the clip.
His name was
Charlie Kirk, ma'am?
Yeah, him is horrible. Horrible.
Charlie Kirk is horrible?
Yes, I'm glad he's not here.
You're glad he's dead?
Yes.
Why would you say something like that, ma'am?
Because he was horrible on the campuses, the college campuses. Horrible person.
You know what? I do the exact same thing.
Well,
would you be glad if I would die?
Maybe. I'd have to think about it.
You should be ashamed of yourself.
You should be ashamed of yourself.
Your friend just said she'd be happy if I died. I think we need to...
So listen up, Democratic establishment. You can either jump on board with this or we're coming after you in the same way that we come after MAGA. Period. Stop taking AIPAC money. Go on an I'm sorry I took AIPAC money atonement tour if you want to stay in power. Stop missing out on these big rallies. Hakeem and Chuck should have been front and center introducing the next mayor of New York City, but no, they wouldn't show up because they're that are beholden to the same corporations that that helped Donald Trump get elected. And this is just an embarrassment. Kudos to Bernie, to AOC, to Zoran. And that woman out in somewhere middle America saying, Charlie Kirk, he was a racist, he was a piece of shit. There are so many more of us than there are of them. And these Democrats that continue to play patty cake with corporations and lobbyists Nobody wants that. Nobody wants you. We want politicians to speak freely and look at what the benefit is. Look at what is happening in New York. And you dipshits are sitting on the sidelines, running your social media like complete dorks. It's embarrassing. Get your shit together. Hakeem and Chuck, seriously get your shit together, because the Democratic Party is moving on. We are moving on.
Yep, they're moving on. Jennifer Welch, Zoran Mandani, the whole crew, they're moving on. In what direction, there's the question there, to which they are moving. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line, and text line. They're moving on. Moving on to represent that disposition that you just heard, enunciated quite clearly. And Jennifer Welch, I guess, is a popular leftist podcaster. Well, we've played you these really popular leftist podcasters and gamers and the sorts of things that they say. I mean, it's nonstop promotion of violence as the means to political ends. So against that backdrop, Senate Republicans, Eric Schmidt from Missouri, hosted a little subcommittee hearing on political violence. And Michael Knowles was one of those who testified. He's got a podcast that's associated with the Daily Wire. He's was a friend of Charlie Kirk's. He speaks on college campuses quite a bit. Here's what he had to say about the effort on the left. We were just talking about this in the context of the coverage of federal law enforcement and people here illegally. Proportionality. This is what the left seeks to undermine, because proportionality doesn't work in their favor. So they try to what about you to false equivalences. And that's what Michael Knowles, I think, effectively addressed in talking about political violence generally.
Lest I be accused of partisan invective, on September 23rd, no less an emblem of American liberalism than The Atlantic magazine published an article citing a recent study from the Center for Strategic and International Studies, admitting that the left is more violent today than the right. Less honest liberals, including members of Congress, continue to deny this fact. Democrat Congressman Seth Moulton, for example, reacted to Charlie's assassination by blaming the right. Congressman Moulton claimed that 3/4 of political violence in the United States comes from the right, while only 4% comes from the left. That claim struck me, as it probably does many of you, as suspect. So I looked into just a few recent examples that came to mind of prominent left-on-right violence. The Covenant School Massacre in Nashville, in which a trans-identifying shooter murdered Christian school children after outlining her ideological motivations. According to authorities, there was no ideological motive there. Go figure. The Black Lives Matter riots, overtly leftist demonstrations that left dozens of people dead and over $1 billion worth of property damage. Likewise, those fail to show up on registers of left-wing political violence. Even an attack by Antifa that targeted me personally, as well as conservative college students for our political views, appeared in official records and data sets as nothing more than obstructing law enforcement. It turns out the left commits relatively little political violence when you don't count the political violence that the left commits.
Yeah, it really is sort of axiomatic. That's one way to minimize the perception of leftist political violence. Don't characterize political violence as political violence. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. Text from 847. I'm seeing post the CPS teacher Martinez was fired. Oh, Lucy Martinez from Nathan Hale Elementary, who, mocked the Charlie Kirk assassination at the No Kings rally here. Yeah, I've seen rumors of that. I would count that as an internet rumor at this point. There's no, and I'm highly skeptical. Highly skeptical. First of all, there's no way that CPS would move that fast. There's a whole process with escalating levels of discipline for anything that would be ostensibly violative of the disciplinary code that's part of the CTU contract with CPS. which I can't imagine is stringently enforced, I'm highly, highly skeptical of the internet rumor that Lucy Martinez has been fired or even disciplined. What we got from the principal of Nathan Hale was sort of a, these are contentious times kind of thing, contextualization of Lucy Martinez's conduct, not any apology or suggestion that discipline was forthcoming. So don't bank on it. So what Michael Knowles is speaking to, and what I've been speaking to, is as the party, to borrow from Jennifer Welch, that podcaster, as the party moves on with Jennifer Welch and Zoran Mamdani and AOC and Comrade Bernie at the helm, but particularly the younger, more vituperative apparatchiks like Jennifer Welch, as it moves on with them and in their direction, you will see the increasing use of political violence. You can designate Antifa as a terrorist group, and you can act accordingly, and that's perfectly fine. I saw, despite the fact that the left wants to pretend that Antifa is some figment of Donald Trump's imagination, I saw that Oregon State Police over the weekend uprooted a Antifa camp in Portland. Look real to me, unless that was a deep fake, as KJP might say, but I don't think it was. But going back to the thrust here is, you're going to see more violence as the means to political ends. I mean, we're on the cusp of things really breaking bad in sanctuary states with the condoning of violence, threats of violence, activities that are just a half a step short of the line being promoted by the political power structure of sanctuary states like Illinois. It's going to happen because this is what they believe. They believe these are tools in the proverbial toolbox to use to move the Overton window, to sideline the so-called Democrat establishment, to whip frenzy among Mamdani voters, and let 1,000 Mamdanis bloom all over the United States. The Canary Mission, which is an organization that's was founded mainly dedicated to combating anti-Semitism, put together a very good tutorial, very good short video on the DSA, the Democrat Socialists of America. And we brought you these clips before. I mean, the Mamdani vault is big. Maybe between now and Tuesday's election, we'll be able to go through all the highlights. But this is a really good summary video of the Democrat Socialists of America, and it includes a clip of two of the leaders of the DSA in New York who proudly discuss their friendship and political association with Mamdani and their influence on the Mamdani mayoral platform. But it's not just issue positions where they're allied. It's strategy and tactics. And one of the tactics is violence.
You've heard of Zoran Mamdani, the charismatic socialist who's running for New York City mayor. Behind Mamdani's success stands the Democratic Socialists of America, or DSA, a group that molded his campaign from the very beginning.
I decided I had to join DSA.
The DSA has become a pro-Hamas, anti-American group that supports some of the most dangerous ideologies and figures in modern history. On the 7th of October, while the massacre of Israelis was in full force, the DSA International Committee applauded Hamas. They called the murder, rape, and kidnapping of civilians resistance. On October 8th, DSA held a rally where they gleefully cheered and celebrated the massacre that had just occurred. DSA even argued that there are no such things as Israeli civilians, de facto giving their approval for their murder. As their radicalization intensified, the DSA Liberation Caucus openly endorsed the brutal murder of a young couple outside the Jewish Museum in D.C., calling for the murderer to be freed. Referring to his actions as righteous and justified, DSA members mocked and celebrated the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Support for terrorism and murder runs deep within the DSA.
You know, I can think of no images like more stirring and heroic than the resistance fighters.
They make figures like Hamas and quote-unquote terrorists. There are actual terrorists in the United States. The terror comes from the capitalists and their pawns.
For the DSA, Israel is only the stepping stone. The real target is America. They loathe the very idea of America, denouncing it as empire.
DSA has to actually be serious. Like, we have to concretely be an actual threat to empire.
So the most important thing that we can do is take that empire down from within.
Ultimately to overthrow our own empire.
We need a movement that can drive a stake to the heart of empire.
We need to orient ourselves towards insurrection.
We know how to fight now because we are all fighters.
In the words of the co-chair of Philly DSA, they want to build a communist party, unifying colonized people to start to attack the walls of empire to prepare for its final destruction. This is the organization behind Zohran Mamdani. These are the people who put him on the map. All of his top advisors align with the ideology of the movement, and they are laying the groundwork to elect more DSA politicians and eventually take over the Democratic Party.
We collaborated with the Zohran Mamdani campaign. We wrote the platform with him. He comes out of our membership organization. We can have people like Zohran all over the country.
We can run 1,000 Zohrans across the country.
The DSA made Mamdani. Don't let them destroy America.
Well, I mean, you have Brandon Johnson in Chicago. You have Mamdani in New York. You've got Brandon Scott in Baltimore. You've got Harrell in Seattle, who's under threat of somebody even more radical than him. He's already somebody that doesn't believe. I mean, he's basically a defund, decarcerate mayor. That's not far enough. You've got Omar Fateh in Minneapolis. We talked to John Hindraker about the other day, who could upset Jacob Fry. I mean, Jacob Fry is somebody who kneeled and wept at the before the coffin of George Floyd. Not far enough. You know, Jennifer Welch is wrong that there's more of them than there are of us. That's not correct. But you don't need a majority. I mean, again, if you look at history generally and cultural revolutions specifically, it's never 50% plus one. And these are real. I mean, these are revolutionary Marxists. And they are serious about using purging as a tool. And by that, I mean purging with violence, not just at the ballot box. Deadly serious about it. And while they stand very slim chance of affecting their Marxist revolution nationally, in big cities and at the margins, they can inflict a lot of damage. They are inflicting a lot of damage. And they got a generation coming up behind them. Meet Kelia Walsh. Kelia, or Calla Walsh, I guess. Calla Walsh. She's like the next Greta Thunberg. It was, eco-supremacy that first radicalized her. But, of course, that's just a gateway position. Listen to what she has to say about the Zionists. And again here, make no mistake about her endorsement of violence. The assassination of those two Israeli embassy employees in D.C., another instances of leftist violence, of course, by a Chicago Antifa type. should have taken out more.
Like, we should be asking ourselves why there weren't 100 more Elias Rodriguez's, why there weren't 10 of us able to evacuate him and to take out more Zionist diplomats. And I think the response we saw from people in the region and in the Axis of Resistance countries shows the importance of his action. You know, on Iranian TV, we hear newscasters saying that Yahya Sinwars are being born in the United States and that this was a martyrdom operation. Khalid Barakat wrote an amazing article contextualizing Elias's actions in the history of external operations in the Palestinian Revolution, and that the Zionists and imperialists have made the entire world a battlefield, and therefore, like, we have to be behind enemy lines everywhere, and that resistance anywhere in this world is justified and necessary. And you don't have to go to Palestine to take part in resistance. If you live in the U.S., you can do it right there, and that's exactly what Elias did.
That's exactly what she's talking about, the man who assassinated those two Israeli embassy employees. Those two 20-something. Why didn't we take out more? Why weren't there? Why didn't we help him try to escape after he committed those murders? Mm-hmm. So, and by the way, she's been profiled in the New York Times, in Teen Vogue, as, you know, again, one of the new poster girls for Democrat Socialists of America. Jerry in Milwaukee, or in Chicago's Morning Answer.
Yeah, good morning, Dan. If that Kayla Walsh is advocating this, what's
Jennifer
that?
Kayla Walsh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Kayla Walsh, if she's advocating for this, why doesn't she go out and do it herself? She's nothing but a blowhard, if you ask me. But anyway...
We better hope.
Yeah, we better hope is right. But anyway, every time you play an audio of someone like Jennifer Welch on the left, it's every other word has to be bleeped out. When you play someone on the right, it's thoughtful, it's intelligent, and all you have to do is listen to these audios and see, who's the rational, who's the reasonable person. You never hear insightful language on the right. You always hear some reasonable dialogue. So.
Thanks for the call, Jerry. Roger, DeKalb.
Hey, Dan. Yeah, I'd like you to put like a warning in the middle of these long segments because they sound a lot like Why is Dan Prof single segments. And especially that Jennifer Welch. What a bitter shrew. And I only call her a bitter shrew because all her plastic surgeries. What is wrong with that woman? These people are just monstrous, and good luck with them. That's all I can tell people.
Thanks for the callers. That's the base of the party. And by the way, that segment Jennifer Welch led into before her rant, where she was playing video from a No Kings March, where she said a wine mom. No, it wasn't a wine mom. It was some boomer honky chick that was celebrating the death of Charlie Kirk and telling the woman interviewing, maybe I wish death on you too. I don't know you. That is the base of that party. Molly Hemingway said it the other day on Fox, like basically the core of the I would call it the neo-Marxist party. She called the core of the Democrat Party are angry women. Yeah, it's Roffles. Roffles are the core of that party. They're not the majority, not by a long shot, but they cower a lot of people for some reason. I don't know why. I guess a lot of the male impersonators they married want to hang on to half their stuff. It's the only thing I can think. Coming up at 6:36, we'll return to matters of law and order, including a question about the AutoPen report that Jimmy Comer put out. We'll start there with Andy McCarthy at 6:36. Now we check the headlines.
Good morning. It is 48 degrees in Chicago on AM 560 The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the AM 560 newsroom. The Chicago Fed real-time unemployment rate forecast estimates the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics monthly unemployment rate at 4.35% for October. That's little change from the last reported value for August. The report indicators include layoffs and other separations, a hiring rate for unemployed workers, and a forecast of the monthly BLS unemployment rate. A federal judge has ordered a senior U.S. Border Patrol official to meet her daily to, quote, hear about how the day went after weeks of confrontations between immigration agents and the public in the Chicago area. U.S. District Judge Sarah Ellis also instructed Greg Bavino to produce all use of force reports since September 2nd from agents that are involved in Operation Midway Blitz. The sweeps have netted more than 1,800 arrests and complaints of excessive force. The hearing was the latest in a lawsuit by news outlets and protesters who say agents have used too much force, including tear gas, during demonstrations. News is a service of Woodland Windows and Doors in Roselle. For over 52 years, Woodland has been transforming living spaces with Marvin Windows. Featuring styles ranging from modern to traditional, visit woodlandwindows.com to get started today. A check of the roads is coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560, The Answer.
Get your tickets for Freedom Summit Chicago 2025, happening on Saturday, November 8th at Westin Chicago Northwest in Itasca. This year, featuring Dr. Ben Carson, Scott Jennings, Mike Gallagher, along with Dan Proft, Sean Thompson, John Anthony, and many more. This event will sell out fast, so get your tickets today at freedomsummitchicago.com. That's freedomsummitchicago.com. Sponsored in part by Aid for Women, Breakthrough Ideas, and by attorney Stephen A. Leahy at Opum Tax Advocates.
When it comes to buying, selling, and investing in real estate, experience matters. Communication matters. Results matter. That's why you should call Tom Cunningham. Tom is a licensed real estate broker with eXp Realty with 25 years in the business. Clients trust Tom for his expertise, doing what he says, sometimes more, and making real estate simple again. He'll make your number one goal his number one goal, listening to your needs and bringing you excellent investment opportunities. Tom Cunningham lives by the Get by Giving philosophy, working hard toward a common good. For more, visit TomCRealty.com or call or text for a meeting, 708-369-7625. Remember, experience matters when it comes to buying, selling, and investing in real estate. Get the expertise of Tom Cunningham, eXp Realty. That's 708-369-7625, TomCRealty.com. Happy days, Cunningham. Make sure you have the results you're looking for.
President Trump has made some pretty amazing claims since he's taken his seat as president. He's delivering on what he promised. On Inauguration Day, Trump's very first declaration was,
"The golden age of America begins right now. From this day forward, our country will flourish."
Consider this. Since the election, gold has shot up hundreds of dollars per ounce, shattering all-time record highs. Fox Valley Coins does not pretend to know the future, but they do know that if you're buying or selling gold or silver, they are the place to do it. These are some of the top reasons people choose a dealer. You want a national dealer with a local presence you can deal with face-to-face. You want a large selection, the best prices, and great service. You want to walk in with cash and walk out with the best product. You want to deal with legacy dealers with integrity. Whether buying or selling or just one valuation, Fox Valley Coins is your answer for choosing a dealer. Visit Fox Valley Coins, 1 light north of I-88 on Route 59 at the Naperville-Warrenville border. FoxValleyCoins.com. Family-owned integrity since 1981.
Chicago businesses. Your phone, internet, and IT should work well 24/7. But when it doesn't, who are you calling? At Overseas Help Desk? If you want clear, reliable local experts, consider Access One. Access One has been powering Chicago businesses with secure, reliable IT solutions for over 30 years from our headquarters right here in the West Loop. Whether it's VoIP phones, dedicated internet, managed cybersecurity, cloud backups, or 24/7 support, Access One has you covered. Access One is Chicago-owned, Chicago-run, and serving thousands of companies from Naperville to the North Shore and everywhere in between. We're rated top 5% in customer satisfaction, a Better Business Bureau A+ rated business, and trusted by law firms, clinics, tech startups to manufacturers. Let's talk about making your IT work well. Call 800-654-1555 or visit AccessOneInc.com. That's AccessOneInc.com. Tech made personal, locally.
Protect your liver and give it the support it deserves with Active Liver from New Nordic. Find Active Liver in stores at your local CVS, Meijer Grocery, or online at Amazon or at newnordicusa.com.
In the Team Hochberg Traffic Center. All right, travel times increasing across the board. Major delay on the Tri-State toll. 3 vehicles involved. Emergency vehicles are on the scene too. This is affecting left lanes northbound on the tollway between 75th and 47th, causing headaches up to 40-minute delays in that area. Another sticky spot on the Stevenson. It is stop and go between Ashland and Dan Ryan. That's inbound Stevenson. On the Bishop Ford, traffic is stacking up inbound between 111th and the Dan Ryan Expressway. No issues on the Edens. On the Kennedy, it'll take you about about a 21-minute drive inbound O'Hare to the Byrne interchange. It'll take you about 29 minutes if you're cruising outbound Eisenhower from the old post office to the Jane Addams. Finally, DuSable Lakeshore, no major issues. It's about a 10-minute drive southbound from Monroe to Marquette. This report sponsored by Blindster.com. What if they can guarantee the price of Bitcoin will be $1 million in 2030? Well, they can't, but they can guarantee you'll save a lot of money on blinds of their company. Blindster.com. Free samples, free shipping, and guaranteed to fit. Shop at Blindster.com today. I'm John Cruz. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. Now check out that forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today will be windy with a mix of clouds and sun. A jacket will be useful. The high will reach 54. Tonight will be clear to partly cloudy and breezy with a low of 43. Tomorrow, expect a mix of clouds and sun with a high of 55 and breezy conditions. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. I want to go back to what we began the show with, and this is the report that Jimmy Comer and the, I think he lets me call me Jimmy, and the House Oversight Committee issued yesterday as it pertains to their months-long probe of Biden's use of the auto pen, or perhaps not Biden's use of the auto pen, which is, I guess, the material point here. First of all, just the for those former Biden aides who did not invoke their Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination, which were, is sort of a split decision. There are many who did, including his personal doctor. Interesting. But for those who did not, it included two former chiefs of staff, Jeff Zients and Ron Klain. Klain, who had been with Biden for a long time. And the question was about, what they saw. And it starts with this clip starts with Neera Tadden, snippets from the testimony. Jeff Zients then goes to Ron Klain, and it ends with Anita Dunn, longtime political flack for Biden and Obama as well. Pay particular attention to what Anita Dunn says.
Yes, I noticed that he was aging in terms of his physical condition. I noticed that, he shuffled more.
That he has more stumbling over words and gaffes than he did at the beginning of the term.
His rhetorical skills were not as strong as they had been, and his speeches were less effective, I thought.
We talked about age. We knew it was an issue, and we tried to design a strategy.
We had a discussion at the senior advisor level about whether the president should have a cognitive exam.
Well, I mean, that's the Anita Dunn saying we talked at the senior level, so inner circle, whether or not the president should have a cognitive exam. What does that tell you about what they were thinking? We're not sure if this guy's up for the job, right? What other logical inference can you make? So they knew, and they knew more than just sort of we saw signs of aging. Everybody ages. Time stands still for no man and all that. And that's not what we're talking about, and everybody understands it. Talking about diminished capacity such that he's not up to the task of being president, which leads to the question of what was he authorizing and what wasn't he, and what capacity did he have to authorize anything? As it pertains to the auto pen specifically, the best part of this snippet of clips is when the inquisitors are talking to former Chief of Staff Jeff Zients. And they ask him about this memo, which is signed JZ and ostensibly came from him, but he says he doesn't remember writing that memo. And the whole point of this compilation is that nobody knew anything about anybody using the auto pen except for Joe Biden, although there was no process to document that this decision to sign this executive order to grant this pardon or act of clemency there was no process or documentation associated with memorializing that this decision comes from the president, and so it shall be executed. The auto pen was just running around signing documents by itself.
They stole the presidency of the United States.
Do you know who the people who were actually operated the auto pen were?
I do not.
Do you know any of the actual staff who were using the auto pen?
No.
You don't know their names?
No.
Have you never seen a decision memo laying out the breakdown of when the president should hand sign a particular set of documents?
Not prior to prep.
Did he hand sign all executive orders?
He did not. He hand signed many executive orders. But he did not hand sign all executive orders.
Can you read your response?
I approve the use of the auto pen for the execution of all the following pardons. Thanks, JZ.
Did you yourself write this email?
I do not believe I did.
That auto pen was used excessively, and yet no one can say for certain that Joe Biden was given the orders to use the auto pen.
Somebody's impersonating Jeff Zients on White House communications. Obviously, that was Comer's commentary at the end. For more on this and other legal matters, please be joined by Andy McCarthy, former Chief Assistant U.S. Attorney and contributing editor at National Review, also the author of the bestseller Ball of Collusion, The Plot to Rig an Election and Destroy a Presidency. Andy, thanks for joining us.
Dan, it's my pleasure.
So, what do you make of the auto pen matter and the fact that no one knows who other than the president used the auto pen, and no one can document that the president authorized certain things? At least that's what Comer wants the Department of Justice to investigate. I mean, if you can't document it and you can't get to the bottom of who signed the document, except to the extent you know it wasn't Biden, then what is the exposure many of those grants of clemency and commutation and outright pardons, I should say, pardon and commutation, in addition to any executive orders that are still in effect? I can't imagine there are many at this point in Trump's administration, but what is the legal standing of those orders?
I think they're binding. I think this is a tremendous scandal. So I don't want to be understood as poo-pooing it, because it's not. It's a major scandal, and people who are complicit in it, starting with Biden, obviously need to be held accountable, at least politically accountable. I don't know what you can do with them legally, but the president's competence, the president's ability to run the government is not a objective fact. It's a constitutional fact.
Right.
And what I mean by that is the Constitution provides two ways to take away the president's power. One is the impeachment power of Congress, and the other is the 25th Amendment. And if those don't get invoked, then what imbues the president with power is the fact that he's been elected, not his mental state of being. And even though in the era of progressive government, which has gone back a century, we now have all these different processes before a president makes a decision. You know, there's a pardon attorney at the Justice Department, and there's an OLC review and other reviews of any executive orders and all that stuff. All that stuff is norms that have grown up in the progressive era. The fact is the president doesn't have to have any power at all, and the only thing that needs to document an official action of the president is, you know, the bottom line document, which in this case would be a pardon or an executive order. No one is saying that those can't be signed by the auto pen. So even though I think this is scandalous, I don't know legally what you do about it, because, you know, all those people, Dan, that you played clips from, they're all, appointed aides of the president. The people who had responsibility to act here would have been like Kamala Harris and the members of the cabinet, you know, the Senate confirmed cabinet, who could have invoked the 25th Amendment and didn't.
Right, but there's two things. So one is, does he have the capacity? And I take your point that, basically under the Constitution, he has the capacity until someone declares that he doesn't and follows the process to remove him from office for having lack of capacity. So it's the failure to do that gets him off. That gets him off the hook for the mens rea question. But the execution of it, the point is to say if he didn't authorize a pardon for Joe Schmo, and I'm just suggesting this as a hypothetical, and Jeff Zients, the chief of staff, said, well, I think he would want us to pardon Joe Schmo, and so I'm going to sign the pardon for Joe Schmo. How could that stand? Then that's a staffer usurping the authority of the elected official.
Well, but you didn't complete the equation, right? Biden is still there. If his staff went crazy and pardoned someone who he hadn't pardoned, he still gets to countermand that if it wasn't what he wanted. If he didn't do anything about it, we have to assume that Biden was fine with it. Unless he's removed under the 25th Amendment, right? Otherwise, let's change the facts a little bit. Suppose, like, Trump is in South Korea today, and he wants something done. So he calls, the White House. He can't get his chief of staff or whatever. Or maybe his chief of staff is with him, and he tells somebody at the White House, I want this signed. Not like the regular way of doing things. It's completely out of the norm and everything else. But if the president is directing somebody, he's got the authority to delegate, and he says, I want this signed. Do it that way. It's completely out of the ordinary, but nobody would say it wasn't something Trump was authorized to do.
Well, right, but if he called Stephen Miller and said sign this, and Stephen Miller signed it, then when Stephen Miller is asked later, he'd say, yeah, the president called me and I signed it. Instead, but that's not what we have here. We have nobody knows who signed it, and the suspicion is it wasn't Joe Biden, but nobody's taking ownership of it. So it suggests there was no direction, and somebody took it upon themselves. There's nobody providing a completion to that analogy you're making, that somebody was told to do this and so I did it.
Yeah, I hear you, but what I'm saying is, as a matter of law, we're now not talking about objective reality, right? I agree with you. The objective reality is Biden was out of touch and his staff was going wild, and we have no way of knowing how much he actually approved and how much he didn't. But as a matter of constitutional law, in terms of, like, could you get this pardon reversed in court, or could you get this executive order nullified, I think the state of play is Biden is president for 4 years unless he's removed or his powers are taken away under the Constitution. And as long as he didn't countermand something his staff did, the presumption in the courts would be that he approved it, even if it was done in an abnormal way, because the president isn't required to follow any of these procedures. You remember, like, the Clinton pardons in 2000, one of the scandalous aspects of the pardon, for example, of Mark Rich, was that Clinton didn't go through the Justice Department's pardon process. He only met with, like, representatives of Rich, who, by the way, were, pouring money into the Democratic and Clinton various interest coffers, right? Totally corrupt, totally irregular. But I don't think anybody could have gone into court and said, let's cancel Mark Rich's pardon, because it was, Clinton was president. He was allowed to authorize it. There was an approvable bribery case, and therefore, even though it stunk to high heaven, you couldn't reverse it. That's, part of the reason, Dan, I think that we're so upset about stuff like this is the president has a lot of power and the presidency has a lot of power. And when they do stuff like this, it's not reversible.
Yeah. Well, let me play out another couple of hypotheticals, see if there's any way in, if there was more information that became available. Like as I mentioned, Dr. O'Connor, his personal doctor, took the fifth. What if the Department of Justice, per a grant of immunity, gives although I don't know exactly what he would need immunity from, but gives O'Connor a grant of immunity. He says, okay, so tell us what you really think and tell us what you communicated. And he says, I really think he didn't have the ability to continue doing the job, and I told him that, and everybody ignored me. So now you have sort of a medical opinion that there was a lack of capacity, and maybe that points to challenging some of these other witnesses, including those that took the Fifth, doing the same thing to try to get to the truth. And ultimately, we find out who actually used the auto pen, and it's stipulated that they did so without Biden's knowledge. Even in that scenario, you're saying because Biden didn't countermand it and he didn't and he wasn't removed under the 25th Amendment, the court's position would probably be to default to say, well, he still had a chance to countermand it and he didn't, so therefore it stands.
Yeah, well, I think we have precedent for this, right? I mean, if you look at the last year plus of Woodrow Wilson's administration, he was completely incapacitated. I mean, he had a series of strokes. Essentially, his wife was signing everything. You know, there's a small cabal of people who knew what was going on, but they didn't let it become publicly known that he was completely incapacitated. And everybody thought, and to this day, I think thinks that was scandalous. But legally, his powers had not been removed from him. And I don't know that there's a legal vehicle. I don't think there is a legal vehicle for invalidating something under circumstances where the legal processes for taking the president's powers away were not invoked.
Would this be,
I don't know what a court does about that.
Yeah. I mean, I wonder, when this first started, before Biden exited stage left, you know, we talked about, White House counsel under Bush, under W, gave an opinion about using the auto pen, and W decided not to use it, but he said basically you could use it so long as you're authorizing it or designating someone to do it on your behalf, to authorize something you want done. But I mean, it doesn't seem like there is. I mean, there's precedent, like you said, Woodrow Wilson, in terms of similar actions being taken. But is this something that's worth litigating to the highest court to try to get more clarity in sort of exigent circumstances like these, which, as you point out, have happened more than once?
I don't think it'd be worth litigating, like whether a pardon was valid or not. I do think it would be worth exploring, even though I'm not optimistic about the outcome of this, but I think it would be worth exploring whether there are criminal charges to be brought against people in the White House for fraud, for some version of fraud on the government. I can't think of a statute that nails this on the head, and I hate the idea that I'm seemingly recommending something that I kind of criticize Jack Smith for, which is taking these statutes that don't really apply to the situation and trying to stretch them to cover things because people were outraged and they felt like something needed to be done. But I think, Dan, that it would be more worthwhile to do a criminal investigation of the people who exercise powers potentially fraudulently, with the understanding that this is an uphill case because in the end, Biden's going to say, I authorized everything.
Right.
So I don't know how you get around that. It would be one thing if Biden really was Woodrow Wilson, like if Biden was not in a position to come out and say, I authorized everything because he was so incapacitated that he couldn't do that. But we don't have that situation, right? He served for the full 4 years. He was present and accounted for when Trump got inaugurated. He still seemed, at least ostensibly, to be functioning as president. And when interviewed about all these things and asked about it, he says he authorized everything. I don't know how you get around that.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's a good point in terms of Biden's substantiate. That's the substantiation, and that's all the substantiation you need because he's the president. Okay, Andy McCarthy, former chief assistant U.S. attorney, contributing editor at National Review, author of the bestseller Ball of Collusion, The Plot to Rig an Election and Destroy a Presidency. Andy, thank you as always. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Dan.
And Andy joined us on the Turnkey.pro answer line.
The stories you need to know to start your day. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer. Salem News Channel is America's fastest growing conservative TV network.
It's an absolute crazy day.
Home to the largest lineup of free speech champions anywhere, delivering in-depth insight and unapologetic opinion on today's biggest news stories.
Americans aren't going to put up with this anymore.
SNC brings you the news that matters, told with integrity and clarity. Watch Salem News Channel free 24/7 on your television. Stream now on Samsung TV Plus, channel 1177. AM 560, The Answer.
Coming up at 7:07, we're going to talk to Christine Rosen. She's got a good piece in Commentary Magazine on the dangers of trans. And Sarah McBride, the trans congresswoman from Delaware, was just in town at the Institute for Political Skullduggery at UFC. We'll start there. 7:07, it's not 7 o'clock. AM 560.
It's the final stop on the Trump Asian trip. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News.
We had a tremendous meeting today with South Korea.
President Trump said that at a dinner with that country's president and other leaders the day before a big meeting with China's leader. The president added he pretty much finalized a trade deal with South Korea. Fox's Lucas Tomlinson is there.
President Trump arrived in South Korea with all the pomp the country can muster, beginning with a fighter escort from both Korean and U.S. Air Force F-16s. Trump was presented a crown, South Korea's highest award, Trump becoming the first American to receive it. As you mentioned, tomorrow, President Trump meets China's leader Xi Jinping to discuss trade, fentanyl, and security. One meeting off the table, Trump heading to the DMZ to meet North Korea's dictator.
Well, the president says the timing didn't work for that, but he has a good relationship with Kim Jong-un, calling the North Korean nuclear program a cloud over South Korea he wants to solve. On his way to South Korea, President Trump reacted to new fighting in Gaza as Israeli strikes retaliated for Hamas attack violating a ceasefire Israel says is still in place despite that.
If we have to, we'll take out Hamas very easily, and that'll be the end of Hamas. We would rather not. We made a deal with them.
Palestinians say the Israeli strikes killed 81 people in Gaza, including children. For a 29th day, the government is shut down by a stalemate over funding in Congress, and soon it'll be more than unpaid federal workers directly affected. Fox's Ryan Schmelz reports Americans who need food stamps may not get them.
The federal food assistance program that helps 1 in 8 Americans buy groceries could run dry by the end of the week. Several lawmakers on both sides of the aisle pushing legislation to keep the program from running out of money during the government shutdown. Republican Senator John Kennedy says he'd support funding SNAP, but also says to proceed with caution.
If you start taking the pressure off senators, then that means the shutdown won't last that much longer.
Hurricane Melissa is hitting Cuba the morning after doing damage and causing flooding in Jamaica. America's listening to Fox News.
WIND, Chicago.
Good morning. It is 48 degrees in Chicago on AM 560 The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the AM 560 newsroom. Hundreds of high school students from Little Village Lawndale High School left class yesterday and marched through their neighborhood in a peaceful protest of Operation Midway Blitz. Organizers are asking that the students be allowed to operate in a hybrid mode, as the students say that they feel unsafe due to the ICE agents that are in their area. Governor J.B. Pritzker opposes that idea. He says the students are safer in their schools. A man is recovering after being shot in the Humboldt Park area yesterday. According to reports, the victim was just standing on the sidewalk when an unknown assailant approached him and started shooting. The victim received 5 gunshot wounds. Police are continuing to investigate. And a judge has extended the order barring the Trump administration from firing federal workers during the shutdown. Correspondent Ed Donahue has the story.
Federal Judge Susan Ilston granted a preliminary injunction that bars the firings while a lawsuit challenging them plays out. The order is now in effect indefinitely. Ilston was nominated by President Bill Clinton and says she believes the evidence will ultimately show the mass firings were illegal and in excess of authority. Lawyers for the government say the district court does not have the authority to hear personnel challenges, and President Trump has broad authority to reduce the federal workforce as he pledged to do during the campaign. The president of the American Federation of Government Employees says President Trump is illegally firing thousands of federal workers, specifically those carrying out programs and policies the administration finds objectionable. I'm Ed Donahue.
News is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Think full mouth dental implants are too expensive? Think again. Not at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. With medical insurance, you could save thousands and receive your finally affordable dream smile. Check if you qualify today at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. A check of the roads is coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560, The Answer.
Catch more money with leading economist Steve Moore.
I'm excited about America. I think things are going really well. I think we've turned a corner here. I think Biden economics is well behind us now. This is a miracle what's going on here. If anything, it's better than I thought it would be. So many good things happening in the economy. Low inflation, low unemployment rate, consumer confidence up, business confidence up. All of the indicators are pointing north right now.
It's More Money, Saturday at 3 on AM 560. The Answer.
If you have an IRA or 401k, this is a message you really need to hear. In just the last 2 years, the price of 1 troy ounce of silver has more than doubled, up over 100%, and silver is now poised for major gains in the months ahead. Call Advantage Gold at 800-741-GOLD to learn how to convert a portion of your retirement assets into physical silver and position yourself for the next wave of growth in precious metals. It's not too late to leverage the power of silver to help secure your financial future. With the devaluation of the U.S. dollar and volatility in the stock market, silver continues to be a safe haven asset that investors trust. When you call 800-741-GOLD, you'll get your free precious metals rollover guide, plus a copy of former IMF Chairman Ken Rogoff's book, Our Dollar, Your Problem. The time is now to consider adding silver into the mix to protect your retirement. Call Advantage Gold at 800-741-4653. Consult your financial advisor before investing. Call 800-741-GOLD.
This month, Pure Talk is supporting Canines for Warriors, a terrific organization that trains rescue dogs and then pairs them up with combat vets struggling with PTSD. This is why I switched to Pure Talk. Sure, I like the unlimited talk, text, and plenty of 5G data for just $25 a month, and you will too. But you will love being in business with a company that shares your values. Dial pound 250, say micro, and switch to an American wireless company that actually stands for something. Pure Talk.
It's Cybersecurity Awareness Month, and LifeLock is here with tips to help protect your identity. Use strong passwords, set up multi-factor authentication on your accounts, report phishing, and update your software on all your devices. And for comprehensive identity protection, LifeLock is your best choice. LifeLock not only alerts you to suspicious uses of your personal information, but also fixes identity theft, guaranteed, or your money back. So stay smart, stay safe, and stay protected with a 30-day free trial at LifeLock.com. Use the promo code BECK. Terms do apply.
You know what really keeps me up at night? It's the criminals feel more and more bold. They have no fear of any consequences because there are none. So I did what anyone with a family should do. I called Goldilocks. They're not just some cookie-cutter security company. Goldilocks has been protecting Chicagoland homes and businesses for 4 decades, 40 years. And they actually listen. Their technician comes out to the house. He takes a look at what you need to make your house a smart home with a security system you can monitor from anywhere. It's built specifically for me and my family. Motion sensors, smart locks, cameras, monitoring, all customized. I don't trust anybody in Illinois to protect my family. I do it, and I did it by calling Goldilocks. I trust Goldilocks to keep my house, my property, and my family safe. Tell them Sean Thompson sent you, and Goldilocks will include 3 months free monitoring with any new installation. Call Goldilocks at 708-899-5600. That's 708-899-5600. Or visit them online at GoldilocksInc.com.
From the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, let's get you out the door and onto the streets. On the Eisenhower, some issues creeping up. Stop and go if you're inbound between Manheim and Western Avenue, about a 25-minute backup in the area. Lingering issues on the Tri-State Tollway, an earlier accident blocking northbound between 83rd and 47th. Expect about 30-minute delays in that area. Also on the tolls, an accident on the right shoulder if you're on the northbound Tri-State at Mile Long Bridge, so expect some delays there. Brake lights are coming alive on the Stevenson inbound between Harlem and Western Avenue, about a 17-minute delay. The Kennedys, it is stop and go outbound between Montrose and Sayre Avenue, about a 12-minute backup. The Dan Ryan starting to get busy if you're inbound from 95th to the Byrne interchange, about a 25-minute ride. And traffic is stacking on DuSable Lakeshore northbound between Bryn Mawr and Hollywood. This traffic update quickly delivered by Quick Delivery Service. For reliable same-day delivery, Quick Delivery will customize a logistics plan to pick up your items and move them safely to their destination. Trust their 40 years of experience for peace of mind. Get a quote at quickdelivery.com. I'm John ground crews. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. Now a check of that QC Kinetics weather forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today will be windy with a mix of clouds and sun. A jacket will be useful. The high will reach 54. Tonight will be clear to partly cloudy and breezy with a low of 43. Tomorrow, expect a mix of clouds and sun with a high of 55 and breezy conditions. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. So, Delaware Congresswoman Sarah McBride, who's a dude, was in town the other day and stopped by University of Chicago's Institute for Political Skullduggery to be interviewed by David Axelrod. Fortunately, UFC has this group called Chicago Thinker, and these are some students at the University of Chicago that are connecting dots, challenging the leftist orthodoxy that persists on campus. So one critical thinker and member of Chicago Thinker, Akshay Kirthi, asked Representative McBride about a statement he made before a grade school class. This was the question.
My name's Akshay Kirthi. I'm a third year in the college majoring in biology. I saw a video of you in an elementary school classroom teaching to what looks like kindergartners, where you were reading a book called Jazz and Friends, and you gave the commentary that, quote, she went with her family to the doctor, and the doctor said that she's a girl, and everyone should see her and treat her like a girl, and, quote, like Jazz said, that makes her a little different from some of the other kids, and Jazz at the end talks about how being different is good. Do you think that it's appropriate to tell impressionable children who think that the tooth fairy is real that it's good to go to the doctor and transition socially and eventually with hormones and surgery when these children barely understand what gender is?
So that's not what I said. I said that...
I have a quote.
He does have a quote, and we have the video that Mr. Kirthi was referring to, and McBride said exactly what Kirthi said he said. Here it is.
She went with her family to the doctor, and the doctor said that she's a girl, and everyone should see her and treat her like a girl, right? Which is to say that they should call her Jazz, and they should treat her with respect and be nice to her. But can I ask you one more question? So that journey that she had from people thinking she was a boy and the fact that Jazz knew she was a girl to her parents and her friends accepting her as the girl that she is, that journey is called being transgender. And like Jazz said, that makes her a little different from some of the other kids. And Jazz at the end talks about how being different is good, right?
Mm-hmm. And I think the propagandizing that was characterized in the question is spot on. So then bring back the good Congresswoman McBride to contextualize what he was saying when he said what you just heard in front of that elementary school class.
Yeah, and I'm going to tell you what that quote was. That quote was, being different is good. That it's good that we have differences in society, that society would be very boring if everyone was exactly the same. Not that being trans is good or bad, but that diversity in our society is good, and we should value diversity. That's what that was saying, one. Two, I was at a job, it was 7 years ago. All of those young people there were there with parental permission, because at the end of the day, I don't believe that anyone is too young to learn to be kind. And that's what that was about.
It was just about kindness, of course. For more on this, pleased to be joined by Christine Rosen, Senior Fellow at the American Enterprise Institute. Christine, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Is Sarah McBride being forthright when he says that passage from the Jazz book, the Jazz pro-trans book, and his characterization before that elementary school class was just teaching kindness?
Not at all. And in fact, I think what we've seen with the more radical members of the trans rights movement is weaponization of tolerance. Look, Americans are actually generally a tolerant people. This is a good part of our character. But I think what you see people like McBride and others doing is saying, unless you accept what I claim about biology, which we know to be false, then you are intolerant or a bigot. There's no conversation actually allowed. And when someone challenges someone like McBride, like this speaker did in the clip that you played earlier, then McBride has no response except to backpedal and deny. And as we saw from the results of the most recent presidential election, they're trying to do that. They're trying to claim that, we're persuading people. But there's no persuasion here. There is a claim that is not based in biology and reality, and it's made over and over again, often to children. And if you challenge that claim, you are considered a bigot. And that is not how America works. That's not how we persuade each other to be tolerant and accepting. And I think the trans movement is starting to discover that people are pushing back on that message.
Well, the one thing that McBride said that was the tell that he was lying, is that he's not saying being trans is good or bad. He's just saying it's different and diversity is good. I mean, give me a break. The celebration of trans couldn't be more full-throated. You're not saying it's good. Yeah, you're right. You're not saying it's good. You're saying it's great. It's excellent. It's the best thing going.
Well, and one of the challenges here is that we know that the trans movement has committed active harm, first to minors who are being subjected to medical procedures that have long-term health consequences for them. But more broadly, I think there's this effort to decide that tolerance means you have to accept someone else's version of reality about themselves. And what that means is that you have biological men imposing on women-only spaces, invading women's privacy, competing against women in sports in ways that Americans generally find fundamentally unfair and dangerous. And I think that's where they're starting to be on the back foot in this argument, because people are speaking up and saying that's not right, that's not fair. Your right to be who you claim you are doesn't mean I have to risk my privacy, my physical safety, or my kids' health to satisfy that claim.
Right, and this I always say this on the show. It's like, yes, Trump is in the White House, but this battle rages on. The Minnesota Supreme Court just recently ruled 7-0 decision. Now, it is Minnesota, but that's what I'm saying. The battle rages state by state. Minnesota Supreme Court ruled 7-0. A man pretending to be a woman was discriminated against by USA Powerlifting that kept him from being allowed to compete against women, and so he shall be allowed to compete. Now, this is, this is limited to Minnesota, and but this is happening in federal court too, and this is going to continue to be litigated as you have opened the floodgates to men competing against women in women's sports at every level all over the country.
Yes, and I think the case of Leah Thomas, the swimmer at the University of Pennsylvania, really brought home to a lot of people who weren't paying attention to just how radical the message of the more radical trans movement members are. Because you can see it. You literally watch a biological man who could not successfully compete against other men, call himself a woman, and then win top honors in women's competition. And after the long and decades-long battle to give women the right to compete in sports, Title IX obviously being a piece of legislation that encouraged that, to now see a lot of the cultural left turn on a dime and say, well, real equality means letting men trounce women and is an unfair, because they have unfair physiological advantages. And that is just not something that's acceptable to most people. And if you look at the polling data, tolerance and acceptance of trans claims is on the decline. And I think it's for this reason. It's this insistence that it's fair when what we can see with our own eyes is that it's not fair, and that it's also a risk, a physical risk to women's security. We shouldn't have men in women's locker rooms. We shouldn't have men in situations where they can, for example, women's prisons, where they claim that it's just because they're a woman, they should be given this advantage. And that is wrong. And I think that tide is turning against that, as it should.
Yeah, I always go back to this because you have to give the sentimentalists a way out, right? Because otherwise they get wooed or intimidated by, well, gosh, I don't want to be seen as unkind. I don't want to say no. I don't want to say yes. I don't want to take a position. Veronica Ivy, who is this trans activist and dude cyclist. By the way, that's not his real name. Veronica Ivy crystallized this on The Daily Show years ago, and I always go back to this because he ironically got right to the premise, and that's where you have to start. You have to get an answer to this question. You have to make people answer this question. And he said, the trans activist said, look, you either believe trans women are women or you don't. Exactly. Mm-hmm. He's exactly right. So you either believe a man pretending to be a woman is the same thing as a biological woman or you don't. So what do you believe? And as soon as you answer that question, everything becomes very clear.
Well, and I think one thing that's interesting to me is the debate going on within the gay rights movement, which spent decades really not demanding special treatment, but saying we just want acceptance in the eyes of the law, the battle for gay marriage. All of this was very an attempt to cultivate and persuade people that they should be allowed to participate in these traditional institutions. Now, people still disagree about that, but they won that battle not by insisting that that up is down and down is up, but by persuasion. That is how Americans change other Americans' minds about lots of things, and we are tolerant. And so when a trans activist says, you have to accept that I think I'm a woman and I get all the privileges and rights that women have, all the protections of womanhood when they are not, that is not actually that's not persuasion. That's staking a claim to special treatment. And that's where Americans push back in the eyes of the law, culturally, socially. Look, most people don't care if a man dressed as a woman uses a woman's restroom as long as he doesn't violate their privacy or duty. That's most people are tolerant already. It's the demand for special privileges, the demand to invade women's spaces, compete against women. That's where people start to draw the line.
Yeah, although I don't think moms and dads want dudes in the bathroom with their daughters.
Well, exactly, because people take advantage of that tolerance. And we've had many cases in Virginia and elsewhere where because they allow men who identify as women into women's changing rooms, we've had registered sexual offenders actually, exposing themselves to children in Fairfax County and elsewhere. And that's just wrong. That's wrong.
The piece that you wrote for Commentary Magazine gets to another matter here that includes trans. It's not limited, but it includes trans that we've been talking about all morning because of the subcommittee that Eric Schmidt, the hearing that he had on political violence that it featured Michael Knowles and others, and just this discussion of what we see on the streets with No Kings, with ICE operations. And that is this belief by many on the left, including the DSA that's platforming Zohran Mamdani, that violence is a legitimate means to political ends. And this has manifested itself within the trans community, quote unquote, such as it is, not just with school shootings, but also with the guy who hatched an assassination plot against Brett Kavanaugh. You commented on that.
Yes. So Nicholas Roski, who did turn himself in when he saw law enforcement, nevertheless had spent a long time plotting to kill Kavanaugh and also other conservative justices on the court because he feared the overturning of Roe v. Wade in the Dobbs case. So this is a very serious thing. This was someone who plotted, planned political assassinations, clear example of political violence. His motives were very clear. So fast forward to his sentencing by a judge. Between that time, Nicholas has decided that he's Sophie and that he wants to transition. And so the judge, who could have rationalized or described why she was sentencing to a very low term, actually, not what prosecutors wanted, decided that she would embrace his claim of transition in order to reduce his sentence. And that to me was a great injustice to the safety and independence of our judiciary, which requires protection from this sort of political violence. But it also sent a clear message. If you're a male violent prisoner convicted of a crime, claim you're a woman, because you know what? You'll get a reduced sentence. You'll go to easier time in a women's prison, and where in the state of California, male prisoners have been raping the female prisoners. So the point where the female prisoners had to bring a lawsuit to try to get these men out of their prison. This is not acceptable. It is not blind justice. This is a judge deciding to side with radical trans ideology and give a violent person a reduced sentence. And I think for me that really struck me as being a new stage in this effort that those of us who feel we're just kind of common sense people and common sense conservatives to push back. We have to say something when that happens. That's wrong. That is a violation of what the principles of our justice system. And we'll see. We'll see if other judges follow this district judge's path or not. But I think it's worth reminding people that claiming, if you're a man claiming to be a woman, that should not give you a reduced sentence to prison.
Yeah, I mean, to say the least, particularly when we're talking about a crime as serious as an assassination attempt on a Supreme Court justice. I mean, it's incredible the lack of seriousness with which the left takes violence generally and political violence specifically, and we see it over and over again. Christine Rosen is senior fellow at the American Enterprise Institute. Her piece, "The Dangers of Trans," over a commentary. Christine, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
And she joined us on the Turnkey.Pro answer line.
The more you listen, the more you'll know. This is Chicago's Morning Answer. Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Let me take a moment to talk about my friends at QC Kinetics. They're helping so many listeners regain their mobility free from joint pain. Does this sound like you? Where every time you move, it's a reminder of what hurts? A reminder of how far you've drifted from the life you once had? Well, relief is closer than you think, and it doesn't have to come from surgery. At QC Kinetics, Dr. Caravelli and her team tap into your body's own regenerative power using natural healing factors that help restore and repair damaged tissue, reduce inflammation, and relieve pain at its source. Stop masking the pain. Let QC Kinetics help you regain what pain took away. And this Veterans Day, QC Kinetics is giving back to our heroes. Veterans will get $500 off their treatment. And for every non-veteran who starts care, QC Kinetics will donate $500 to the Wounded Warrior Project. It's a great time to book your free consultation to learn how QC Kinetics can help. Call 312-827-6261. That's 312-827-6261. Once more, that phone number, 312-827-6261, and tell them I sent you when you call. Our veterans are our heroes. They answer the call to defend our freedom, putting their lives on the line for our nation. But today, thousands of these brave men and women are facing something no hero should ever face: food insecurity. That's where Farm to Veteran comes in. Through the Fulcrum Farm Foundation, this remarkable organization delivers farm-fresh, nutritious food directly to veterans in need through veteran services and organizations. From greenhouse-grown produce to eggs, they're ensuring our heroes have access to the high-quality food they deserve. But Farm to Veteran can't do it alone. They need our help. Your financial contribution directly supports their mission to feed more veterans across their growing network of partner farms nationwide. And there's another way you can make a difference. Join them at their upcoming community events. Visit farm2veteran.com today. That's farm2veteran.com to donate or learn about events near you, because those who served our country shouldn't have to wonder where their next meal is coming from. Let's stand for those who stood for us. That's farm2veteran, farm2veteran.com.
Is cremation an option you're considering for you or your loved one? At Catholic Cemeteries, we offer sacred, permanent places of rest where loved ones can be remembered, prayed for, and visited for generations. Too often, cremated remains are brought home, only to end up in closets, basements, or forgotten on shelves. Memorialization is forever. Honor their life. Preserve your legacy. Visit us today at CatholicCemeteryChicago.org to schedule a free consultation or call 708-236-5490.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank, a bank where relationships still matter. Signature Bank knows your name and your story. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
Anthony and John here from Bionic Auto Parts, proud clients of Signature Bank. We deliver high quality, recycled and remanufactured auto parts to Chicago and Milwaukee. Our mission is simple: provide parts safely, reliably, with great customer satisfaction.
We process over 350 vehicles a month. With big banks, everything took forever. Layers of approvals and endless delays. At Signature Bank, one call got it done. Whether it's lending, deposits, or treasury management, they deliver fast. Signature Bank made us feel like family. That's a partnership we deeply appreciate.
Signature Bank helps local businesses succeed. Want to learn how Signature Bank can help turn your business vision into reality? Call Signature Bank at 773-467-5600 or visit signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
If you have an IRA or 401k, this is a message you really need to hear. In just the last 2 years, the price of 1 troy ounce of silver has more than doubled, up over 100%, and silver is now poised for major gains in the months ahead. Call Advantage Gold at 800-741-GOLD to learn how to convert a portion of your retirement assets into physical silver and position yourself for the next wave of growth in precious metals. It's not too late to leverage the power of silver to help secure your financial future. With the devaluation of the U.S. dollar and volatility in the stock market, silver continues to be a safe haven asset that investors trust. When you call 800-741-GOLD, you'll get your free precious metals rollover guide, plus a copy of former IMF Chairman Ken Rogoff's book, Our Dollar, Your Problem. The time is now to consider adding silver into the mix to protect your retirement. Call Advantage Gold at 800-741-4653. Consult your financial advisor before investing. Call 800-741-GOLD.
This is Carol Platt-Liebau for townhall.com. 24 years ago, it would have seemed unimaginable. Americans stood in horror watching the World Trade Center collapse. 2,753 innocent people murdered by Islamist terrorists. Now, incredibly, a radical Muslim is poised to become New York City's mayor. Zohran Mamdani's rise could be an American success story. Proof our country isn't the racist place the left claims it is, but his politics make that impossible. He's refused to condemn the anti-Semitic chant, "Globalize the Intifada." He's been photographed with a potential co-conspirator in the 1993 World Trade Center bombing. And one of his associates claimed America deserved 9/11. When critics raise concerns, Mamdani and his allies cry Islamophobia. But it's not bigotry to reject hatred and extremism or to remember the lives lost on 9/11.
Welcome back to Ask Hassellus. I'm Weston. What's your question?
What makes Hassellus mattress different?
Aside from employee-free showrooms, free next-day delivery and haul-away, and way too low prices on Beautyrest, Sealy Posturepedic, and CertaPerfect Sleeper?
Yeah, besides that.
Well, Hassellus is locally owned.
You mean your franchise is locally owned?
We're not a franchise. Every showroom is owned and managed by the same family. So, when you shop at Hassellus, your money stays right here. And through Monday, our family wants to give you a $248 credit towards a new Beautyrest, Sealy Posturepedic, and CertaPerfect Sleeper just for shopping local.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Our 43 beds from the top 5 brands start at $393.
I like that.
Try and buy with no pushy sales guy.
I love that.
Free next day delivery too.
Thanks.
For what?
For being different.
Shop local and enjoy a $248 credit through Monday at Hassellus Mattress. Open 9 to 9. Find a no-hassle, employee-free showroom near you at hassellus.com.
AM 560, The Answer.
Coming up at 7:37 on the topic of loneliness. Going Fraser Crane again on this edition of Chicago's Morning Answer. 7:37, we'll tackle it. Now we check the headlines.
Good morning. It is 48 degrees in Chicago on AM 560 The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the AM 560 newsroom. Vice President J.D. Vance says that troops will be paid as pressure builds on Congress to end the shutdown. Correspondent Julie Walker has the story.
Vice President J.D. Vance says he believes U.S. military members will be paid at the end of the week, but did not specify how the Trump administration will reconfigure funding in the second longest government shutdown to do that.
Well, the troops get paid on Friday, yes. We believe that we can continue to pay the troops on Friday.
I'm Julie Walker.
A missing teen has been found and he's safe. The Wilmette Police Department put out notice last night asking for the public's help in locating a missing 13-year-old from Wilmette. This morning, authorities have stated that the young man has been found and is home safe. News is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Think full mouth dental implants are too expensive? Think again. Not at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. With medical insurance, you could save thousands and receive your finally affordable dream smile. Check if you qualify today at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. A check of the roads is coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
Get your tickets for Freedom Summit Chicago 2025, happening on Saturday, November 8th at Westin Chicago Northwest in Itasca. This year, featuring Dr. Ben Carson, Scott Jennings, Mike Gallagher, along with Dan Proft, Sean Thompson, John Anthony, and many more. This event will sell out fast, so get your tickets today at freedomsummitchicago.com. That's freedomsummitchicago.com. Sponsored in part by Lutheran Life Communities, Virago, and by Senior Helpers of Naperville.
When the power goes out, life stops. Heat, AC, fridge, phones, all gone. But with a Generac home standby generator from True Power Generator Service, your home powers back on automatically, so you're never left in the dark. Book your consultation today at TruePowerGenerator.com. That's TruePowerGenerator.com. Plus, 560 listeners get a free 10-year extended warranty. Terms and conditions apply. Call for details. True Power Generator Service and Generac. It's not just a generator, it's a power move.
If you have an IRA or 401k, then this message is definitely one you need to hear. The price of 1 troy ounce of silver has more than doubled in the past 24 months, and silver is poised for huge gains in the near term. That's why when you call Advantage Gold at 800-741-GOLD, you'll be positioned for the next wave of dramatic growth in precious metals. The devaluation of the U.S. dollar and the volatility of the stock market all play a part in why silver continues to be a safe haven location for your assets, and why precious metals continue to dominate in an uncertain financial climate. Learn more when you call 800-741-GOLD. We'll send you a free precious metals guide, plus a copy of former IMF Chairman Ken Rogoff's book, Our Dollar, Your Problem. The time is now for you to consider silver to protect your retirement. Call Advantage Gold at 800-741-4653 right now. Consult your financial advisor before investing. Call 800-741-GOLD.
Don't miss Destination Retirement with Robert Kuhn every Sunday from 11 to 12. Robert has a different way of looking at retirement from most financial advisors and is happy to share his ideas with you every week. So don't miss what he has to say on AM 560 The Answer. Destination Retirement with Robert Kuhn, Sunday mornings from 11 to 12.
Protect your liver and give it the support it deserves with Active Liver from New Nordic. Find Active Liver in stores at your local CVS, Meijer Grocery, or online at Amazon or at newnordicusa.com.
We're watching roads in the Team Hochberg Traffic Center. We've got delays this morning creeping up on the Kennedy. It is solid traffic due to an accident blocking the right lane if you're outbound Kennedy between Ogden and Irving Park Road, about a 17-minute backup. Inbound Kennedy from O'Hare to the Byrne interchange, about a 38-minute ride. The Eisenhower is solid. Traffic is stacked inbound Ike between 17th and Damon, about a 25-minute delay. Issues on the Stevenson, about a 20-minute delay if you're inbound from Harlem to Western. The Dan Ryan inbound from 95th to the Byrne, about a 15-minute backup. And issues still on the Tri-State due to an accident earlier. Stop and go on the northbound lanes between 83rd and 47th. This report sponsored by Staples. Your local Staples has hot deals and super low prices throughout the store on everything for your business. And right now at Staples, save up to $125 off your print order. Exclusions apply. Visit staples.com/print for details. Ends November 1st. Plus, save even more with the Easy Rewards program at Staples. I'm John Cruz. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. Now check out the forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today will be windy with a mix of clouds and sun. You may need a jacket as the high will reach 54. Tonight will be clear to partly cloudy and breezy with a low of 43. Tomorrow, expect a breezy day with a mix of clouds and sun and a high of 55. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft. A Financial Times analysis from this weekend
by John Byrne Murdoch looked at the rise in early deaths among middle-aged people across advanced countries, most notably the U.S., the UK, and Canada, even as older people are living longer. The question, why are people in the English-speaking countries dying younger? He looks at, does Byrne Murdoch, the deaths of despair research that has been often discussed. We talked about it perhaps most in most pronounced fashion during COVID. Suicide and substance abuse. But it's a little bit more complicated than sort of the deaths of despair categorization would suggest. From this Financial Times piece, which followed thousands of the research, which followed thousands of adults in the U.S. over several decades, found that the despair framing is not quite right. What marks out those who succumb to self-destructive behavior is not psychological distress or financial hardship. Not specifically. It's long-term joblessness and social isolation. The long-term joblessness can induce financial hardship, of course. But anyway, let's give his thesis a chance here. My analysis of middle-aged mortality on both sides of the Atlantic confirms that an equally simplistic narrative of it's just the availability of drugs is only part of the story. Deaths from substance abuse have not risen uniformly across the population. They affect specific cohorts of people who were hit by large negative employment shocks in early life. This is most pronounced in Scotland, where the bulk of deaths from drugs and suicide have affected the generation that grew up during spells of high joblessness during the rapid deindustrialization of the 70s and 80s. But drugs and economic dislocation aren't enough on their own either. Many countries in Western Europe with fentanyl in circulation have endured bouts of unemployment almost as severe without the subsequent waves of mortality. Separate data highlights the final piece of the puzzle. Both young men and people out of work report being significantly more socially isolated in English-speaking countries, markedly increasing the risk of self-destructive behavior. Several factors in non-English-speaking countries may be playing a protective role here, from levels of religious belief and social solidarity to more concrete factors, such as close-knit, multi-generational family units. These may allow other populations to weather storms that damage Anglophone societies. The BBC's loneliness experiment research conducted, with more than 55,000 participants, finds the challenges of social isolation are most acute among younger men and the unemployed in English-speaking countries, with joblessness producing sharper feelings of isolation than age and gender combined. The BBC study also examines the prevalence of loneliness, a complementary but distinct concept to social isolation, and finds that younger people report the highest levels. 40% of 16 to 24-year-olds who took part told us they often or very often feel lonely, compared with 27% of those over the age of 75. We saw higher levels of loneliness in young people across cultures, countries, and genders. Compared to social isolation, which is more objectively measured through things like living alone or not having much contact with family and friends, loneliness involves more subjective sentiments, such as feeling disconnected from the world, feeling left out, sadness, or not feeling understood. People can live alone and be somewhat socially isolated without feeling lonely. Many people prefer to do things on their own without any negative life consequences whatsoever. Thank you very much for recognizing me. Often it's a matter of degree on these issues, with people who spend too much time alone or being too isolated ending up in worse spots. In turn, high levels of social isolation and loneliness tend to lead to lower levels of interpersonal trust and poorer physical and mental health that may contribute to an earlier demise. So, what, if anything, can we do about it from a public policy perspective? Well, I mean, there are things that are suggested in a piece by John Halpin over at Liberal Patriot that tackles this topic as well. But that's sort of less the focus at this point for me than just more examining the phenomenon. And the combination of this new research plus this piece over the weekend in the Free Press about David Foster Wallace, the great writer who committed suicide, I think in 2008. His magnum opus was Infinite Jest, just an incredible book. But this remembrance of David Foster Wallace by Ted Gioia, I think it's Gioia. Anyway, he writes the Things Worth Remembering column over at the Free Press, and he's remembering David Foster Wallace this weekend. It's a really good piece. David Foster Wallace's sort of life was memorialized in a film about a decade ago called The End of the Tour, in which Jason Segel played David Foster Wallace, and what's his name, played Lipsky, the Rolling Stone. It was based on a Rolling Stone interview and subsequent article that was done on David Foster Wallace, and that the interaction was between the David Foster Wallace and this Rolling Stone reporter who, his name is escaping me, but he's the guy who played Zuckerberg in The Social Network as well. And just sort of remembering some of the things that David Foster Wallace said, including some of what Infinite Jest was about. If you haven't read it, you should. I think he actually wrote it while he was in the English department at Illinois State University. I think that's where he at least started writing. You know, he got this job after, after piling up some advanced degrees, and then I believe he started and maybe even finished writing it while he was on staff at Illinois State. Anyway, the focus of of David Foster Wallace, played by Jason Segel, the focus of his warnings about loneliness, since it's something he grappled with, he committed suicide, as I said. It was screen technology. And he wrote the book and he gave the interview. This is before the advent of smartphones and all the technology, of course, we have today. But Infinite Jest, his magnum opus, was about loneliness. That was his characterization of it. And I think it comes through if you read the book. In almost all of his interviews, David Foster Wallace talked about screen technology causing a crisis of loneliness. He was, and there's a scene in Infinite Jest where he talks about, where he's, the Rolling Stone, Lipsky, the Rolling Stone reporter, is trying to get him to, provide some salacious details that will, add some appeal to this profile piece he's working on for Rolling Stone. You need a drug addiction that you overcame. But he was never addicted to drugs. What Wallace says in this tense exchange between the two is he's addicted to television. If there's a sort of sadness for people, I don't know what, under 45 or something, it has to do with pleasure and achievement and entertainment and a kind of emptiness at the heart of what they thought was going on. He called loneliness a stomach-level sadness and a kind of lostness. In a 1992 essay, he talks about a new vision of the USA as an atomized mass of self-conscious watchers and appearers. That's a very interesting phrase. Watchers and appearers. I mean, that's, if you were addicted to TV in the 90s, that's a pretty good presaging of what was to come, because what is so much of this online experience? Watching and projecting, appearing. I'm living my best life. Mm-hmm. He said instead of participating in a community of relationships,
We become locked into networks of strangers connected by self-interest and contest and image. He talked about entertainment, television, which he was addicted to in his own words. Entertainment's chief job is to make you so riveted by it that you can't tear your eyes away, so the advertisers can advertise. He's described it as sinister because it leads us to stare at screens for hours every day without stopping to ask the driving purpose behind the entertainment. This scene that I'm referencing in the end of the tour, he says, at a certain point, we're going to have to build up some machinery inside our guts to help us deal with this, because technology is just going to get better and better and better, and it's going to get easier and easier and more convenient and more pleasurable to be alone with images on a screen given to us by people who do not love us but want our money. This is 1996, so in terms of being ahead of the learning curve. Each generation has different things that force the generations to grow up. Maybe for our grandparents it was World War II, you know. For us, we're either going to have to put away childish things or discipline ourselves about how much time do I spend being passively entertained. Because if we don't do that, then as individuals we're going to die. And the culture is going to grind to a halt. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro, answer line and text line. On loneliness. And something else, too, I mean, this provides the occasion to go back to a commencement address that David Foster Wallace gave. This was... 1 spoonful of honey with cinnamon. Make sure I have the university right here. Oh, yeah, this was at Kenyon College, 2005. So this is 3 years before he committed suicide. And he talked about, to these, college grads, talked about learning how to think.
20 years after my own graduation, I have come gradually to understand that the liberal arts cliche about teaching you how to think is actually shorthand for a much deeper, more serious idea. Learning how to think really means learning how to exercise some control over how and what you think. It means being conscious and aware enough to choose what you pay attention to and to choose how you construct meaning from experience. Because if you cannot exercise this kind of choice in adult life, you will be totally hosed. Think of the old cliche about, quote, the mind being an excellent servant but a terrible master. This, like many cliches, so lame and unexciting on the surface, actually expresses a great and terrible truth. It is not the least bit coincidental that adults who commit suicide with firearms almost always shoot themselves in the head. They shoot the terrible master. And the truth is that most of these suicides are actually dead long before they pull the trigger. And I submit that this is what the real, no bullshit value of your liberal arts education is supposed to be about. How to keep from going through your comfortable, prosperous, respectable adult life dead, unconscious, a slave to your head and to your natural default setting of being uniquely, completely, imperially alone, day in and day out.
You know, it's interesting talking about that sort of psychological solipsism. That's what Wallace is referencing, that only your own mind exists. There's studies on this, and there are linkages, correlation between that sort of feeling that Wallace is describing and violence. Now, it's like a heightened, risk incidence. So, but it's one of those things where it does. So not everybody who is feeling some of the feelings of that David Foster is going to commit suicide or is going to commit a violent act against somebody else. But it's sort of like, it's not to this level, but it's sort of like not everybody's going to smoke. Not everybody smokes or did smoke is going to get lung cancer, but it's a heightened incidence. There's, correlation. And in that case, causation. But and that's what I'm talking about here. So this is a real thing. And again, it's not something that's so easily addressed by public policy because everybody's wired a little bit differently. So it's a sort of a one-on-one phenomenon, like trying to deprogram those who've been lobotomized by government education, as I was talking about earlier in the program, and including those who have been wired or somewhat encouraged towards political activism that includes a violent component. A little bit more from David Foster Wallace. I mean, the whole commencement speech that he gave at Kenyon College is so good. It's only about 20 minutes. Go online and watch it if you haven't. In the end, he talks about the freedom of real education.
This, I submit, is the freedom of real education, of learning how to be well-adjusted. You get to consciously decide what has meaning and what doesn't. You get to decide what to worship. Because here's something else that's weird but true. In the day-to-day trenches of adult life, there is actually no such thing as atheism. There is no such thing as not worshiping. Everybody worships. The only choice we get is what to worship. And a compelling reason for maybe choosing some sort of God or spiritual type thing to worship, be it JC or Allah, be it Yahweh or the Wiccan Mother Goddess or the Four Noble Truths or some inviolable set of ethical principles, is that pretty much anything else you worship will eat you alive. If you worship money and things, if they are where you tap real meaning in life, then you will never have enough. Never feel you have enough. It's the truth. Worship your own body and beauty and sexual allure, and you will always feel ugly. And when time and age start showing, you will die a million deaths before they finally plant you. On one level, we all know this stuff already. It's been codified as myths, proverbs, cliches, epigrams, parables, the skeleton of every great story. The whole trick is keeping the truth up front in daily consciousness. Worship power, you will end up feeling weak and afraid, and you will need ever more power over others to numb you to your own fear. Worship your intellect, being seen as smart, you will end up feeling stupid, a fraud, always on the verge of being found out. Look, the insidious thing about these forms of worship is not that they're evil or sinful, it is that they are unconscious. They are default settings. They're the kind of worship you just gradually slip into day after day, getting more and more selective about what you see and how you measure value without ever being fully aware that that's what you're doing. And the so-called real world will not discourage you from operating on your default settings, because the so-called real world of men and money and power hums merrily along on the fuel of fear and anger and frustration and craving and the worship of self. Our own present culture has harnessed these forces in ways that have yielded extraordinary wealth and comfort and personal freedom. The freedom all to be lords of our own tiny skull-sized kingdoms, alone at the center of all creation. This kind of freedom has much to recommend it. But of course there are all different kinds of freedom, and the kind that is most precious you will not hear much talked about much in the great outside world of wanting and achieving and displaying. The really important kind of freedom involves attention and awareness and discipline, and being able truly to care about other people and to sacrifice for them over and over in myriad petty little unsexy ways every day. That is real freedom. That is being educated and understanding how to think. The alternative is unconsciousness, the default setting, the rat race, the constant gnawing sense of having had and lost some infinite thing.
Challenge the default settings. Be aware and engaged. 2005, 20 years ago. Let me repeat again. Each generation has different things they face that force the generation to grow up. Maybe for our grandparents it was World War II, For us, we're either going to have to put away childish things or discipline ourselves about how much time do I spend being passively entertained. How much time do I spend being passively entertained? If we don't do that, then as individuals, we're going to die, and the culture is going to grind to a halt. Robin in Tony, Alabama.
Yeah, hey, Dan, thanks. It's so profound what he said. I was raised an only child. I was born to, my parents were in their 40s. They did not entertain me. I never felt that I was missing out. My father would say, hey, you got nothing to do? Go clean the garage. Go read a book. Go do something. Don't just sit there and think, oh, I wish I had this. Or it was no one I grew up with ever felt that our parents or our television was entertainment. We went outside. I have spent about 2 years staying with college students who have every bill paid for. They're on the dean's list. They're everything. And just to reiterate what he said about, how they look at things, they need to have constant scrolling, constant screen time. They cannot stand to be alone with their own thoughts. They have nothing to take them away from what society, what culture tells them. That's how they live, is to be validated, is to be constantly entertained. And I can't imagine what the future is going to hold for them unless they get out of it. So that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thanks, Robin. Passively entertained, unconscious. Something he said about, the worshiping of false gods. Worshiping, it's particularly salient for politics. Worshiping power, and you'll never have enough. And don't we see that play out, too? The same thing, same way people worship money, as you said. Okay, we have to get back to temporal things. To 8:08, we'll talk to Cliff May about Trump's trip to the Indo-Pacific. It is now 8 o'clock on AM 560 WIND Chicago.
It's only 6 a.m. on the West Coast, but it's just about bedtime for President Trump. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. He's in South Korea, where it's 10 p.m., and he wrapped up a day of talks at dinner with that country's president and other leaders from the region.
We made our deal. We pretty much finalized a trade deal, and we discussed some other things having to do with national security.
And when the president wakes up tomorrow, South Korean time, he'll sit down with China's leader Xi Jinping for talks that'll include a big focus on tariffs.
The U.S. and China have been locked in a trade war for months. Beijing has responded by blocking rare earth minerals, which power everything from our mobile phones to cars to fighter jets. Trump also wants China to resume purchasing American soybeans. Last year, China purchased $13 billion worth from American farmers. This year, zero.
Fox's Lucas Tomlinson in South Korea. They're still assessing the destruction Hurricane Melissa did in Jamaica, hitting as one of the most powerful storms ever with 185-mile-an-hour winds. 3 deaths are reported there, along with a lot of damage and flooding. Melissa is now hitting Cuba and then the Bahamas.
We're very concerned with the Bahamas. These are flat-lying islands, which is different than the monster that we were facing with Cuba and Jamaica. There's nowhere for the water to go, and we are expecting possibly up to an 8-foot storm surge with intense rain.
Fox Weather's Britta Merwin. The government is shut down for a 29th day with no end in sight to the standoff in Congress over funding, so a lot of federal workers remain off the job unpaid. Those deemed essential keep working, but also without pay. Joe Segreto is one of them, an air traffic controller, and he tells Fox.
The pressure is real. We go to work and we speak with people. That's all we talk about. It's a distraction. You go home to your safe place, and it's a distraction there, too.
Some controllers have been calling out sick or getting second jobs to make ends meet. That's led to a lot of flight delays, more than 12,000 Monday, yesterday, and this morning. Another concern, the SNAP food assistance program will run out of funding, so Americans who need food stamps may not have them starting Saturday. America's listening to Fox News.
Good morning. It is 48 degrees in Chicago on AM 560, The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the AM 560 newsroom. A federal judge has ordered U.S. Border Patrol Commander Gregory Bovino to provide her with daily in-person reports until a hearing next week. Jim Talamonte has the story.
Judge Sarah Ellis questioned Bovino Tuesday about alleged violations of a temporary restraining order in the case filed by the Chicago Headline Club against Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem and federal agents. violations. Illinois House candidate Will Knapp joined protesters outside the Dirksen U.S. courthouse. Knapp said he saw agents taking people from work sites.
What I saw there was both courageous folks coming out, making their voices heard, but also cowardly agents senselessly tear gassing a neighborhood.
Republican State Rep Adam Niemerg said Illinois Democrats are trying to protect criminal illegal aliens.
No matter how careful they are in these instances, there's still going to be videos by Illinois Democrats trying to put a narrative out there that puts ICE in a bad spot.
Ellis ordered Bovino to be in court at 6 p.m. daily.
Ellis has scheduled a preliminary injunction hearing for November 5th. Chicago police officers joined the Cook County State's Attorney General's office and community partners for the annual Domestic Violence Awareness Resource Fair and Walk. Officials say the 20-minute walk was to symbolize the tragic reality that 20 people per minute are victims of rape, physical violence, or stalking by their partners. News is the service of Goldilocks, offering Chicagoland state-of-the-art smart security systems to protect your home or business. AM 560 listeners receive 3 months of monitoring free with new installs. Get peace of mind by calling Goldilocks at 708-889-5600. That's 708-889-5600. A check of the roads is coming up in 2 minutes, but time now for the AM 560 Business Beat, a service of Signature Bank.
I'm Charles Payne, and this is the Fox Business Report.
Verizon is keeping its expectations for the year after reporting higher profit and revenue in the recent quarter. Earnings came in better than forecast. Verizon shares are up more than 2.5%. Construction equipment giant Caterpillar saw its profit slump. The company says even though sales rose, it's being impacted by weak construction activity in the U.S. and higher costs as a result of tariffs. Wall Street was expecting an even bigger decline, and Caterpillar shares are up more than 4%. Health insurer and drugstore chain CVS Health is reporting a better than expected summer quarter. However, CVS lost money in the period and the stock is lower. Federal Reserve decision on interest rates is today. Microsoft, Meta, and Alphabet report earnings. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Jimmy Coselda. Invested in you.
Larry Elder explains what they want to open the government.
The Democrats want to put back $1.5 trillion in spending. They want to refund NPR, PBS, and they want to remove the protections in the Big Beautiful Bill Act that would prevent illegal aliens from getting Medicaid. They've always said, let's reopen the government and then we can negotiate our differences. Except they're not doing that this time because, well, Trump.
The Larry Elder Show, weeknights at 8, right before Sean Hannity at 10 on AM 560. The Answer. Don't miss In Grace with Pastor Jim Scudder Jr., now heard on Sunday mornings at 7:30. Tune in and find hope as Jim Scudder explores God's Word and His world each Sunday morning right here on AM 560. The Answer.
When it comes to buying, selling, and investing in real estate, experience matters. Communication matters. Results matter. That's why you should call Tom Cunningham. Tom is a licensed real estate broker with eXp Realty with 25 years in the business. Clients trust Tom for his expertise, doing what he says, sometimes more, and making real estate simple again. He'll make your number one goal his number one goal, listening to your needs and bringing you excellent investment opportunities. Tom Cunningham lives by the Get by Giving philosophy, working hard toward a common good. For more, visit TomCRealty.com or call or text for a meeting 708-369-7625. Remember, experience matters when it comes to buying, selling, and investing in real estate. Get the expertise of Tom Cunningham, eXp Realty. That's 708-369-7625. TomCRealty.com. Happy Days Cunningham makes sure you have the results you're looking for.
If your cash is sitting in a savings account, it's at risk. Old school advice says save more, but today the strategy is broken. When inflation spikes, they print money or cut rates, your dollar shrinks. So do your savings. The solution? Own something real. Physical gold and silver. When the dollar drops, gold and silver prices rise. And with Noble Gold, owning gold is simple. Just visit noblegoldinvestments.com and chat with a specialist. The knowledge is free. The protection is priceless. Visit noblegoldinvestments.com. Past performance may not be indicative of future results. Investing in precious metals involves risk. Consult your financial advisor before making investment decisions.
An informed and educated citizenry is the only guarantee to preserve our constitutional republic. And each week, you'll hear from experts, not pundits, and find out what's really happening, from local issues to national politics. Listen to The Real Story with Jeannie Ives. There's no topic of public policy concern that she won't talk about. Stop the lies. Learn the truth. Join the conversation. Sunday night at 7, right here on AM 560. The Answer.
This month, Pure Talk is supporting Canines for Warriors, a terrific organization that trains rescue dogs and then pairs them up with combat vets struggling with PTSD. This is why I switched to Pure Talk. Sure, I like the unlimited talk, text, and plenty of 5G data for just $25 a month, and you will too. But you will love being in business with a company that shares your values. Dial pound 250, say micro, and switch to an American wireless company that actually stands for something. Pure Talk.
It's Cybersecurity Awareness Month, and LifeLock is here with tips to help protect your identity. Use strong passwords, set up multi-factor authentication on your accounts, report phishing, and update your software on all your devices. And for comprehensive identity protection, LifeLock is your best choice. LifeLock not only alerts you to suspicious uses of your personal information, but also fixes identity theft, guaranteed, or your money back. So stay smart, stay safe, and stay protected with a 30-day free trial at LifeLock.com. Use the promo code BECK. Terms do apply.
Hello, this is Alistair Begg. In September of 2026, I'll be teaching the Bible as we cruise through the Norwegian fjords. I'd love for you to join me. Call 855-565-5519 or visit deeperfaithcruise.com.
From the Team Hawkburg Traffic Center, we've got issues around the city. Stop and go if you're on the Tri-State Tollway right now. There's an accident blocking the right lane northbound between Southwest and Harlem. That accident involving a tanker truck that's leaking unknown fluid, so be mindful of delays there. If you're coming into town inbound from O'Hare on the Kennedy, expect about a 30-minute backup. Some minor issues on the Edens outbound from Montrose to Lake Cook, about a 10-minute backup. Going back to the Kennedy, we've got brake lights if you're inbound between Edens Junction and Ogden, about a 20-minute delay. The Eisenhower is stacked in both directions, especially inbound between Des Plaines Avenue and Ashland, about a 30-minute backup. The Stevensons are stacked, especially inbound between Harlem and Western, about a 30-minute delay. It is stop and go in the Dan Ryan local lanes inbound between Chicago Skyway and Roosevelt. Traffic, a service of Salem Surround, a local digital marketing agency providing high-performing digital solutions to surround your target audience. Go to surroundchicago.com today. I'm John Cruz. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. Now check out the QC Kinetics forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today will be windy with a mix of clouds and sun. A jacket will be useful. The high will reach 54. Tonight will be clear to partly cloudy and breezy with a low of 43. Tomorrow, expect a mix of clouds and sun with a high of 55 and breezy conditions. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. Trump's visit to the Indo-Pacific seems to be going swimmingly. Was conferred the highest civilian honor by the South Korean government. And despite what Gordon Chang said about the South Korean president being pro-Xi and anti-American, it was all backslapping and smiles. Now, again, that doesn't mean that Gordon Chang was wrong. There's clearly something to that. But it was a pretty positive event, and Trump was pretty high on the U.S.'s relationship with South Korea, as well he should be. He also, in his remarks, I thought, was some of Trump at his best in terms of sort of laying out a vision from an American perspective on America's relationship with our friends in the Indo-Pacific.
We're solving the challenges that no one before us has ever been able to solve, and we're forging a free and open Indo-Pacific, and for all of the people, we're creating a future of dignity and security, prosperity and pride From the rolling hills of San Francisco to the gleaming streets of Seoul, from the bustling factories of Toledo, Ohio, to the bright lights of Tokyo, from Pittsburgh to Palawan, from Boston to Bangkok, from Detroit to Da Nang, and from Cleveland to right here in Gwangju. Nice place. Did I do good with that one? Did I do okay? Gwangju. Good, beautiful place, by the way. We're strengthening old friendships, forging new bonds, building new factories, pioneering new industries, and creating a dramatically better world for our children and for generations to come. Together we will build a future of strong, independent nations on both sides of the vast ocean, joined by our common interests, united by common values, and reaching constantly toward a richer, safer, and more peaceful Pacific with fairness, persistence, and common sense. That's such an important two words. We will build together, we will trade together, we will prosper together, we will thrive together, and above all, we will win together like never before. We're going to have an incredible relationship together for generations to come. And I just want to thank everybody in the room. I know so many of you. You're incredible people. God bless you. God bless the nations of this great region, and God bless America. Thank you very much, everybody.
It doesn't seem like the ugly American that the left characterizes Trump as being, destroying norms and degrading America's standing in the world. Yeah, it seems to be quite the opposite going on globally, doesn't it? One other moment I thought was particularly impactful before we get to our friend Cliff May. Trump talking sort of trade reciprocity, generally speaking, including he had mentions of working with the South Koreans to advance American shipbuilding, because in part because the South Korean interests recently purchased a shipbuilding facility in Philadelphia. So he talked a little bit about that. But this is more sort of a general comment in terms of outlook on trade reciprocity, with an eye towards his meeting on Thursday in South Korea with Chinese dictator Xi.
But around the world, we're signing one trade deal after another to balance our relationships on the basis of reciprocity. Very important word. On this trip alone, I've signed groundbreaking agreements with Malaysia, Cambodia, Japan. Our deal with the Republic of Korea will be finalized very soon, like moments or very shortly thereafter. These agreements will be incredible victories for all of us, because everyone is better off when we have stable partnerships, not plagued by chronic problems and imbalances. Probably you know that President Xi of China is coming tomorrow here, and we're going to be, I hope, making a deal. I think we're going to have a deal. I think it'll be a good deal for both. And that's really a great result, and that's better than fighting and going through all sorts of problems and no reason for it. I think it's going to be a great deal for both, so I'll be meeting him tomorrow. A lot of people are interested. They're also interested in what we're doing, but they're interested in that. I can tell you a lot. The world is watching, and I think we'll have something that's very exciting for everybody, and that's also good for South Korea. It's good for all nations.
For more on this, please be joined by Cliff May, president of the Foundation for the Defense of Democracies, foreign affairs columnist for the Washington Times as well. Cliff, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
And always a pleasure to be with you.
You can talk about the economics if you want, but I'm just thinking about the geopolitics here, strengthening the relationships with the new Japanese prime minister and Japan by extension, South Korea, Cambodia, Thailand, Vietnam, all of those countries that he ticked off, really starts to put some pressure on Xi, doesn't it, to, number one, play ball with the United States, even as we're sort of, competing and engaged in skullduggery below the surface, because of the sort of reorienting supply chains to increasingly friendly countries. And, it also puts perhaps a chill on him with respect to, say, any expansionist plans he may have in the South China Sea or the region generally?
Well, it certainly puts some pressure on him, but Xi Jinping is a very competitive guy, and he knows what he wants to achieve while he is the president for life of China, and more importantly, the Secretary General of the Chinese Communist Party, the most powerful communist party in all history. So China is a threat. It's a threat to Taiwan, which we have an interest in all sorts of ways. It's important that we have good allies there and that they be not dependent on us, but that they be contributing to the collective security. Japan is doing much better in that regard. It's challenging. We saw on October 9th, as you'll recall, China said, well, we're going to have strict export controls on our critical minerals that we process and turn out. That's a wake-up call that we need our own critical minerals. We need to do more. I say in my new column, we need to do more than drill, baby, drill. We need to mine, baby, mine, and process, baby, process, because critical minerals are too important to be China.
But in terms of what Trump can do, he's not going to be able to reform China from the outside. So in terms of what he can do, cutting a deal for rare earths with Australia and strengthening these economic ties expanding the goodwill here on this Indo-Pacific trip. That's what he can do.
I'm not being critical.
No, I know. I just want to, for clarification's sake.
Yeah, he's doing a good job. He's having a good tour. I think he does understand needs in terms of energy and critical materials. I have a new column out about something that people may not know even exists called the National Energy Dominance Council, which has to do with not just hydrocarbons, fossil fuels, but also critical minerals. Doug Burgum, Secretary of the Interior, chairs it. Chris Wright, Secretary of Energy, is the vice chair. This is very forward-looking, very important, a real important departure from the last administration, which saw energy policy not as national security policy, which it is, but as a subsidiary of climate policy, because John Kerry thought, climate change is an existential threat to the world, which it is not. Anyhow, I won't go on, but he's done a good job. I think he does recognize all the things I'm talking about. We'll see what happens, I guess, today. I think it's today, right? When he meets with Xi. It's a very important meeting, but she's not going to fold. She's got cards to play.
It's interesting, just on the matter of Taiwan, since there's been so much talk about, Xi biding his time and waiting for the right moment, but he's going to invade, and it's just a matter of time, and what can we do to stop it, and should we be sending more arms to Taiwan, and so on and so forth. Just an interesting perspective. Professor at MIT, at the Sloan School of Management there, Yasheng Huang, had this to say in a recent interview: "The day China invades Taiwan will mark the end of the Chinese economy. The whole economy will become a wartime economy, and that is not the engine of growth for the Chinese economy. The Chinese economy is very dependent on exports, as we're seeing with their prickly reaction to tariffs and with the prospect of some sort of you stop exporting chemicals that are used in the production of fentanyl to Mexico and we'll reduce our tariff barriers." That's potentially on the table, but maybe there's we're overreading Xi's interest in bringing Taiwan formally to heel for the very reason that this professor at MIT suggests.
Could be. There's also another possibility. If you're Xi Jinping, a very smart guy, you think, okay, I want to take over Taiwan. How do I want to do it? I'm going to threaten to do it militarily, but are there better ways? I was in Taiwan, I guess it's about a year ago, with Admiral Mark Montgomery, who used to be commander of the Pacific, works for my think tank, FDD. We did war games, tabletop exercises. What we found was that if you're Xi Jinping, a better way to take over Taiwan is to do it not through an amphibious invasion and bombing, but slowly through strangling the island, maybe blockades, maybe quarantines of energy, maybe cyber attacks. Maybe try in various ways to buy off people in the country. But it is. Let me say this, Dan. Xi Jinping has not given up his ambition. He would say to reunite Taiwan with China. I would say that's a false way to frame it, because Taiwan has never been ruled by the Chinese Communist Party. It was ruled by Japan more than it was ruled by China, and it was ruled by China way back when during, I think it was the Ming Dynasty. So just keep in mind, he hasn't given up his ambitions. But he would not want to, I think, destroy the economic viability of the island, particularly as you know, the most high quality chips are made there in one particular factory.
Yeah, right. He's not going to burn the village to save the village, so to speak. Right.
Probably not. Right.
I wanted to move to the Middle East since there may be some jeopardy with respect to the ceasefire, although Trump doesn't believe so. But your colleague, Jonathan Conricus, was on News Nation. He formerly an IDF spokesman, now with the Foundation for the Defense of Democracy, your shop. And he had this to say about what's going on.
We have a peace or ceasefire agreement that was put in place with an American presidential seal and pressure on it to be successful. And basically, since Hamas returned 20 of the live hostages, that was a very big moment, Hamas has been violating the agreement systematically. They have not returned all of the the murdered hostages. There are still 13 bodies in Hamas captivity. And what we've seen earlier today and in previous days are actual attacks by Hamas terrorists or militias against Israeli troops. This last attack was in Rafah, and unfortunately with significant consequences on the ground. And what Israel is doing now is retaliating. And the reports of, Israel, the Israeli Prime Minister ordering attacks is Israel responding to what Hamas is doing. What you can see here is construction equipment that Hamas has been using. They've basically been putting on a show. They were caught red-handed a few hours ago, where they've been saying that we can't locate all of the bodies. So what Israel was able to do was actually to film Hamas dumping a body of an Israeli murdered hostage into a makeshift grave, covering it up, and then bringing the Red Cross observers to the location and then staging the unearthing of the body as if they've just found the body, which really goes to show how cynical Hamas is and how much of a show and, just lies are abundant here.
So, shock of all shocks, Hamas is not operating in good faith in this ceasefire.
Well, yes, it's worse than that, of course. But let me just update you. The ceasefire is back on as of this morning. But the other thing they did, besides what Jonathan Conricus describes, is a Hamas sniper, a terrorist sniper, we assume it was Hamas, killed an Israeli master sergeant, Yonah Feldbaum. He is 37 years old. He has 5 children. The Israelis struck back after that. President Trump was not opposed to that. What he said was, and I'm quoting here, they killed an Israeli soldier, so the Israelis hit back, and they should hit back. And the ceasefire is now restored. You just got to ask yourself a question. If Hamas kills an Israeli soldier and does so with impunity, will they do that again? I think the answer is obviously will. If Hamas kills an Israeli soldier and they get slammed back for that, might they think, the ceasefire is more our interest than it is to pick off Israeli soldiers? I think that's a better bet.
Well, here's the thing. These sorts of incidents are going to call the question, and that is, was Trump serious about his pronouncement? Either Hamas disarms or we're going to disarm them. And at one point, do you say, okay, you've run out of sand in the hourglass, now we're coming to disarm you?
Yeah, absolutely worth thinking through. President Trump would like to see the Emiratis and some other, I would say, pro-American and moderate and pragmatic Arab countries do this. I'm not sure any of them are willing to do so. If nobody else is willing to do so, and by the way, King Abdullah of Jordan the other day said, I don't see anybody in the Arab world willing to go up and attempt to disarm Hamas. If nobody else will do it, I don't expect the Americans to do it. I don't think President Trump doesn't want Americans to do it. I wouldn't want Americans to do it. So then he will turn to the Israelis and say, do you want to do it? Now, the Israelis have to think this through. Would they rather do it? It's going to cost more lives. Or would they rather just keep Hamas in? As you know, Hamas is now divided into two. Israelis have the eastern portion, 53%. Hamas is still in control in 47%. It means there's a big buffer zone. that Israel has between Hamas and the civilian population of Israel. They're going to have to think through what they want to do. There'll be reconstruction in the Israeli-occupied part of Gaza, and there will probably be Emiratis and Saudis and others and an international force coming in there. It'll be a safer place for Gazans if they want to come. But what to do about the other half? I don't think that's decided yet. I don't think we know. I think Trump is saying to the Israelis, you didn't believe I could get the living hostages back, and I did. Trust me on this. I'm working with the various Arab countries. I'm going to get them in there to disarm Hamas. And, and anything is possible. I think the Israelis are skeptical that it's going to come to pass without them doing it.
Cliff May is the president of the Foundation for the Defense of Democracies and foreign affairs columnist for the Washington Times. Cliff, thanks as always. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Dan. A pleasure.
And Cliff May joined us on the Turnkey.pro answer line.
It's like a hot, steaming cup of information to start your day. It's Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
I give up.
What's wrong?
I've been doing everything wrong at home. I washed the red towels with the white bed sheets. I left all the kitchen cabinet doors open. I wiped out the hydrangeas with the weed whacker.
Hey, we all make mistakes.
But darn it, my wife still isn't mad at me.
Wait, hold on. You're doing these things on purpose?
Yeah.
Why?
So I can sleep on the couch.
Let me guess. The James sofa from Penny Mustard?
Bingo.
With the extra deep seats.
And ultra high density foam cushions?
Remove the back cushions and it's almost like you're sleeping on a twin bed.
Twin bed? Exactly.
Let me get this straight. You're trying to make your wife mad so she'll make you sleep on the sofa?
The James sofa, yes.
I gotta admit, it's a pretty good plan.
The James sofa, American made with a solid wood fortress frame and hundreds of fabric and leather options, starting at $22.96 at Penny Mustard.
7 Chicagoland showrooms.
PennyMustard.com.
Better versions of what people want.
Penny Mustard Furnishings.
Sean Thompson here, and with me today is my friend Dr. Michael Huber, who is one of the creators and developers of Virago. Why don't you tell us what Virago is and the benefits of it?
I created Virago with 23 natural ingredients that work together to create this immune response in the body. I created it to fight viruses.
So you see the intended results, but for these other benefits, when did you start hearing of that?
After 3-4 weeks, that all of a sudden their allergies are disappearing. People with congestive heart failure, which really amazed me. I had a vet that had been in a wheelchair for 3 years and couldn't walk, and his legs were swollen. In 3 months on Virago, he was able to walk again and get out of the wheelchair. It takes a couple of months. Your body has to repair itself.
Well, that's absolutely fantastic. And now you can order a bottle at myvirago.com. Myvirago.com. Use coupon code IMMUNE to save 30%. Virago and Maha.
Maha starts with Virago.
Making America healthy again.
Medical professionals, is God calling you to contribute your medical skills for something more? Are you looking for better hours and a more flexible schedule? Since 2009, Waterleaf Women's Center in Aurora, Illinois has provided free and compassionate care to thousands of women facing an unplanned pregnancy. Due to the incredible growth of our ministry and the upcoming addition of wellness and prenatal services, we are seeking new members to join our medical team of doctors, nurses, and sonographers. Waterleaf offers a comfortable working environment, flexible hours, a Christ-centered approach, and a competitive salary. We consistently rank among the top-performing nonprofit pregnancy clinics in the nation, and our patient survey scores are phenomenal. For more information, please call Waterleaf Women's Center at 630-701-6270, 630-701-6270, or visit onechoiceonelife.org today. That website, onechoiceonelife.org. onechoiceonelife.org.
Sean Thompson here, and I'm with attorney Bert Hochberg from the law firm of Schiller, Ducanto, and Fleck. We're talking about divorce arbitration. This is not really a new, or is it a new, innovative way to go through divorce?
Arbitration has been around for decades. It's completely legit and available to resolve divorce cases. The litigants and their lawyers sign an arbitration agreement. They identify what the issues are, and we set up dates, and we determine what experts and witnesses there may be. Arbitration is a hearing, a trial that is intended to finish a case efficiently with limited appeal, with a binding decision, and it's confidential, so it has some great characteristics.
I think it's a unique alternative to divorce. For more information, please visit sdflaw.com and type Bert Hochberg into the search box. That's sdflaw.com or call direct 773-255-6150.
Honey, what's for dinner?
Honestly, nothing.
Nothing? Why not?
Because every time I need a pan, I have to unload half the kitchen first.
It's like Jenga, but with casserole dishes.
Exactly. And I always lose.
At Forever Remodeling, we create kitchens that fit your life, not the other way around. From smart storage to stunning finishes, start cooking in a kitchen built just for you. Visit foreverremodeling.com. That's the number 4, everremodeling.com.
AM 560, The Answer.
Now, let's squeeze this in. Sean Farish, the great Trump impersonator, he's got a little parody song about the killing of narco-terrorists in international waters. Take a listen.
Just sit right back and you'll hear a tale of a fateful trip that started on the Venezuelan coast aboard this narco ship. The fake news said they were fishermen, but they were Trinidad thugs heading to the United States with a boat full of drugs. A boat full of drugs. Bad hombres decided to F around, so we blew them out of the water. We unleashed our secret weapon, and we dropped Katie Porter. We dropped Katie Porter. The narco boats were annihilated. Now the fish are high as hell. They got a free meal when the USA chummed the water with the cartels. And I got to look very well, by the way, with Davy Jones. You may have heard of him, Davy Jones. And he has a locker. And anybody who tries to sail drugs into our country, they're getting a one-way trip to Davy Jones' locker. That much I can tell you. Thank you for your attention to this matter.
All right, coming up at 8:38, we'll talk ICE activity in Chicagoland and elsewhere. Former HHS advisor and retired Chief Border Patrol agent Chris Clem at 8:38. Now we check the headlines.
Good morning. It is 49 degrees in Chicago on AM 560, The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the AM 560 newsroom. 2 Chicago brothers have been charged with burglary following a joint operation targeting cargo thefts on Norfolk Southern Railroad trains. According to the Cook County Sheriff's Office, the railroad's drone captured 3 people breaking into a shipping container on a moving train near 64th and State Streets. The offenders fled when officers approached. The railroad drone followed the offenders into nearby brush where 19-year-old Maishan and 27-year-old Avery Bohannon were both taken into custody. A third suspect has yet to be located. And Chicago police say a woman was stabbed early this morning in the Westridge area. According to reports, the woman was taking her trash out and was behind her building when a man dressed in all black approached her. The victim received cuts on her head and her arm. She was transported to a local hospital for treatment. Police have no suspects at this time. News is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Think full mouth dental implants are too expensive? Think again, not at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. With medical insurance, you could save thousands and receive your finally affordable dream smile. Check if you qualify today at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. A check of the roads is coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560, The Answer.
Get your tickets for Freedom Summit Chicago 2025, happening on Saturday, November 8th at Westin Chicago Northwest in Itasca. This year, featuring Dr. Ben Carson, Scott Jennings, Mike Gallagher, along with Dan Proft, Sean Thompson, John Anthony, and many more. This event will sell out fast, so get your tickets today at freedomsummitchicago.com. That's freedomsummitchicago.com. Sponsored in part by Nauman and Associates, Scott Tucker Solutions Incorporated, and by Catholic Cemeteries of Chicago.
Well, that was a surprise. The HVAC tech just said our furnace apparently has a cracked heat exchanger, and it'll cost thousands.
Oh, you're kidding. He barely looked at it. Now he's pushing a huge repair? What should we do?
I don't really trust them. We need a second opinion. My brother Mark recommended Air Right Heating and Cooling. I looked them up and they seem legit. Great Google reviews. I'm sure they'd give us an honest assessment. He liked that they checked their carbon monoxide readings so he knows the air they're breathing is safe. And I guess it also gave a sense of how much life was left in their furnace.
I'd love that peace of mind. Plus, why spend a fortune on something we might not even need?
Get a second opinion from Air Right Heating and Cooling. Tell them AM 560 sent you and get $56 off any service. Visit Air Right Heating and Cooling right now at AIR-RITE.com. Again, that's AIR-RITE.com. Air Right Heating and Cooling. Doing it right since 1959.
If you're an experienced homeowner who's outlived your assets or your spouse recently passed away, you need to call Team Hochberg, your trusted local reverse mortgage lender. Alice, 90, widow, income $24,000 a year, living in a $500,000 home with no mortgage. Alice's husband recently passed away and she was terrified about losing her home, so her daughter called for information about a reverse mortgage. We helped Alice secure a reverse mortgage, which allowed her to access $300,000 tax-free dollars so she could afford in-home health care. Let's review. Alice's husband recently passed away. She outlived her assets and thought she had to sell her home. Our reverse mortgage expert, Jose Rodriguez, helped Alice secure a reverse mortgage so she could afford in-home health care and peacefully age in place. Team Hochberg's helped thousands of radio listeners, but we can't help if you don't call 855-563-2843 or visit that website you know and love, 56david.com. Lower.com, equal housing lender, NMLS 1124061.
Salem News Channel is America's fastest growing conservative TV network.
It's an absolute crazy day.
Home to the largest lineup of free speech champions anywhere. Delivering in-depth insight and unapologetic opinion on today's biggest news stories.
Americans aren't going to put up with this anymore.
SNC brings you the news that matters, told with integrity and clarity. Watch Salem News Channel free 24/7 on your television. Stream now on Xumo Play.
Honey, why does it take you so long to get ready?
Oh, because I've got one tiny sink. I'm trying to balance makeup on the back of the toilet, and the mirror's always fogged up.
Sounds like a circus act.
Exactly. And I perform every morning.
At Forever Remodeling, we create bathrooms that fit your life, not the other way around. From extra storage to spa-like showers and timeless finishes, we make your mornings easier. Visit foreverremodeling.com. That's the number 4, everremodeling.com.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Goldilocks, offering smart security systems to homes and businesses. Call Goldilocks at 708-889-5600.
From the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, we've got some issues citywide on the Eden. Slow traffic outbound between Wilson and Gulf Road, about a 12-minute backup. We've got brake lights if you're inbound Kennedy from O'Hare to the Burn Interchange. About a 50-minute ride that includes a 30-minute delay built in. Both directions of the Ike are struggling this morning. Inbound Eisenhower between Harlem and Racine, about a 35-minute backup. Outbound Ike between Pulaski and Reagan Memorial, about a 25-minute delay as well. Solid traffic on the Stevenson inbound between Harlem and Western Avenue, expect about a 30-minute delay. The Dan Ryan is also sluggish if you're on the local lanes inbound between 63rd and Roosevelt, about a 15-minute delay. And the Tri-State Toll still struggling from an earlier accident northbound between 111th and Harlem. That's got the right lane blocked from that tanker truck accident. This report brought to you by Blindster.com. Blindster.com sells custom blinds, shades, and shutters at low prices. Their blinds are handcrafted to fit your windows, and if they don't, for any reason, they'll remake them for free. Your satisfaction is always guaranteed at Blindster.com. I'm John Cruz. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. Now check out the QC Kinetics forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today will be windy with a mix of clouds and sun. You may need a jacket as the high will reach 54. Tonight will be clear to partly cloudy and breezy with a low of 43. Tomorrow, expect a breezy day with a mix of clouds and sun and a high of 55. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. Get your tickets for Freedom Summit Chicago 2025, featuring Dr. Ben Carson, Scott Jennings, Mike Gallagher, and many more. Get your tickets today at freedomsummitchicago.com.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. Former Republican National Committeeman Chairman, former Republican National Committeeman for the Illinois Republican Party. Richard Porter has a piece at RealClearPolitics.com detailing some survey results. Just remember in context, if 2022, J.B. Pritzker got about 2 million votes. 70% of Illinois Democrats surveyed in the poll in question say it's appropriate to follow ICE officers. 63% say it's appropriate to block the entrance to ICE facilities. 70%, 63%. Round numbers, 2 million. In addition, 40% think it's appropriate to pull ICE officers off of someone they are apprehending. That's called assaulting an officer. 40%. 14% think it's appropriate to throw objects at ICE vehicles. 10% think it's appropriate to spit on ICE officers. And just under 9% think it's appropriate to throw objects at ICE officers. 1 in 10 is turns out to be a small percentage of a big number, which is a big number, 200,000. Asked another way, 42% of Illinois Democrats think violence to stop ICE agents from apprehending people is sometimes, mostly, or always acceptable. 4 in 10. Asked if political violence under certain circumstances was always, mostly, or sometimes, or never acceptable under certain circumstances. 21% thought violence was acceptable to silence a racist or a homophobe, as they define it. So, as Brandon Johnson defines it, like a racist is someone who uses the term illegal alien, which is race neutral, but so what? He says it's racist. So 1 in 5 Democrats thinks violence is acceptable against a person who uses that phrase, I guess. 11% found violence acceptable against a flag-waving MAGA Trump supporter. 18% found violence against greedy corporate executives acceptable. Greedy as they define it. Nearly 1 in 5. Young Democrats expressed the most support for political violence. The 18 to 30-year-old demographic, 34%, 1 in 3, thought violence to stop ICE was always acceptable. 10% said acceptable against a flag-waving MAGA Trump supporter, always acceptable. 25% violence against a greedy corporate executive, always acceptable. Those should be pretty jarring numbers, don't you think? Per the running conversation we've been having all morning about the political violence as seen as a legitimate political tool by the left. Expressly so by the DSA, Democrat Socialists of America, that birthed and are backing Zoran Mamdani in New York and Brandon Johnson in Chicago and all sorts of similarly situated mayors running the same program in big cities around the country. Starting to sink in, and you maybe get an appreciation of the threat level that's bubbling not too far below the surface. And so the focus yesterday on the Chicago press corps to continue to feed this beast, and I do mean beast, was on ICE Commander Greg Bovino in federal court getting chastised by Judge Ellis over ICE's judgment calls in using crowd dispersion methods like tear gas and pepper spray and so forth. And so now he's got to be whistle before the principal every day and make sure that she's satisfied that he's complying with her temporary restraining order while the matter of ICE's conduct or the limits of ICE's ability to defend itself and disperse the mob is litigated. And this is what Brandon Johnson had to say about Bovino, since we're going to focus on him and not the people who've been killed, maimed, raped, robbed by people in this country illegally in Illinois under sanctuary state.
What is happening, though, is Bovino is a barbaric individual. And I just hope that this judge provides some level of accountability.
He's the barbarian. Okay. Chris Clem is a former HHS advisor, retired chief border patrol agent. Chris, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Hey, good morning. Man, it makes me want to, after listening to that poll, makes me want to join ICE and go to Illinois just to see these 18 to 34-year-olds talking a lot of smack on a pole. That's ridiculous, but you bring up a very good point. It is the underbelly of what the Democratic Party and the Progressive Democratic Party has become, and this is why you're seeing these assaults. These aren't protests. These assaults play out because in their mind, they've rationalized that they can do that. And leaders like that wimp leader in Chicago that just called Greg a barbarian, what kind of man is he to see a guy that, is leading people and calls him a barbarian? No, Greg is being a leader in a situation that's very tumultuous. Grace.
These are just some of the headlines from Chicago, just in the last 60 days or so. Former WNBA star's mother killed in head-on collision with illegal immigrant. Migrant arrested 8 times since 2024, stabbed man and refused to delete a video. Migrant gets arrested for the 10th time in 10 months. Migrant charged with sexually attacking woman during Rogers Park home invasion, his 5th arrest since June. Federal issue detainer for migrant accused of vicious attack and rape on Northwest Side woman. Migrant arrested 16 times in Chicago is finally scooped up by ICE. 16 times. Migrant charged after cops find gun, inert grenade on CTA bus. Migrant mugged 85-year-old woman in Gold Coast, targeted others across Chicago, according to prosecutors. I mean, that's just a sampling. And but the focus, the real agents of chaos and disruption and violence are federal law enforcement agents, not people in this country illegally, and the small percentage of them that clearly have established they're predators by their behavior.
Yeah, it's quite comical to hear, especially right now in Chicago, Illinois, and other places like Los Angeles, California, and whatnot, that ICE and the federal agents are the problem that's causing the chaos and the crime to come out of control or go out of control in places like Chicago, when you can just list the things that you just talked about that occur almost daily. I just saw Greg's Chief Bovino's Twitter account, another TDA gang member taken off the streets last week or so. There's a lot of stuff going on there, but don't let's get distracted by the fact that he's using crowd control devices. And I would comment, I think Tom Homan's made it very clear, these aren't crowd control. This is less lethal because the agents are being assaulted. Crowd control is a lot different. Some of the same munitions, but different techniques. This is, you threw something at me, I'm throwing something back to make sure I have a layer of protection so I don't get further assaulted. And by the way, this judge is really going down a slippery slope. And so your listeners know she's a Canadian-born person, right? She was born of Jamaican parents in Canada, became a naturalized citizen, public defender in Chicago, private sector in Chicago, gets appointed by Obama. Do you think we're going to get a fair shake when it comes down to federal law enforcement enforcing immigration laws by this judge? I hope the Chief Justice that oversees this Northern District kind of keeps gets the finger on the pulse here, so she doesn't, because she can't tell agents how to do their day-to-day tactics when it comes down to officer safety.
I mean, it's good to point that out, the judge's background. Another politician in a row, no question. But this is not to say that ICE gets to act with impunity, and nobody is arguing that, but I just want to state it for the record and ask you if you've seen anything where you think an ICE officer has crossed the line and where there needs to be accountability with ICE, too, in such instances where, say, that officer or in that situation, that was a bad judgment call. We made a mistake. We're going to own our mistakes. But this is in furtherance of public safety. But we are going to own our mistakes, and we are going to hold our officers to the highest level of conduct, which we do as a matter of course.
That's how I've operated for the 27 years I was in federal law enforcement. We held ourselves accountable when we violated rules, policies, and laws. That's why Greg showed up at the court. If he was not, didn't have the integrity, didn't have the rule of law and top of mind, he would have never shown up. I see these videos, right? We're never going to see a body cam until such time from the agents and officers. We only see what is allowed to us to be seen by the protesters. Yeah. And that particular video where he throws the tear gas, if you look to his immediate right, if you watch that, the other agents are raising up their rifles. I think it's our pepper ball guns to ready pistol or are lining up to shoot this. There is something going on that we're not seeing why Greg had to do that, because the people around him are aimed in. Something is happening, but we don't get to see that. And all we do is hear the judge bloviating about, First Amendment rights and this and that. Well, they have a right to protect themselves and protect the public, and that's what they're doing. But if he's wrong, if the agents or officers have done something wrong in violation of policy, absolutely, you hold them accountable. They know that. But we don't operate Monday morning quarterback. The judge and the jury is supposed to see it from the eyes of the officer when they take those actions, because that is to protect the police, so we can protect the laws and the people in this country.
He is Chris Clem, former HHS advisor and retired Chief Border Patrol agent. Chris, thanks as always. Appreciate it.
You got it, man. Have a good day. Thank you.
You too. And he joined us on the Turnkey.pro answer line.
There's only one radio show in Chicago talking about today's biggest stories and telling you what they really mean. That show is this one, Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer.
Why would you take your precious metal collections to some fly-by-night roadshow that rolls into town once a year? The only thing you need to do is follow the road to Fox Valley Coins and show your gold or silver to Marlin and the team. Gold is at an all-time historical high, so don't keep sitting on your coin hoards or old jewelry that you've been saving to sell when the time is right. The time is right now. Prices have never been better on most collector and gold coins. Fox Valley Coins in Naperville is trying to keep up with demand. So they're paying the most ever on not only most gold coins in bars, but also those old coin collections. You might have scarce dates or higher grade coins, so take advantage of the record high market price and the demand now. Whether you're buying or selling, or just want to find out values, trust the team at Fox Valley Coins. Fox Valley Coins is on Route 59, just one light north of I-88 at the Naperville-Warrenville border. Family-owned integrity since 1981.
Let me take a moment to talk about my friends at QC Kinetics. They're helping so many listeners regain their mobility free from joint pain. Does this sound like you? Where every time you move, it's a reminder of what hurts? A reminder of how far you've drifted from the life you once had? Well, relief is closer than you think, and it doesn't have to come from surgery. At QC Kinetics, Dr. Caravelli and her team tap into your body's own regenerative power using natural healing factors that help restore and repair damaged tissue, reduce inflammation, and relieve pain at its source. Stop masking the pain. Let QC Kinetics help you regain what pain took away. And this Veterans Day, QC Kinetics is giving back to our heroes. Veterans will get $500 off their treatment. And for every non-veteran who starts care, QC Kinetics will donate $500 to the Wounded Warrior Project. It's a great time to book your free consultation to learn how QC Kinetics can help. Call 312-827-6261. That's 312-827-6261. Once more, that phone number, 312-827-6261, and tell them I sent you when you call. Hi, Dan Proft here. Data shows that boys make up more than 1/3 of those exploited in the sex trade. However, there are virtually no services available to male victims and survivors of trafficking and exploitation. They are often overlooked, ignored, and left without support. For 35 years, Emmaus has been on the front lines of an issue most of us can hardly imagine, helping men and boys in Chicago escape the nightmare of human trafficking and rebuild their lives. On November 1st, you're invited to attend an unforgettable evening at the Emmaus 35th Anniversary Gala at Fisherman's Inn in Elburn, Illinois. Together, they'll celebrate faith, freedom, and restoration with a beautifully catered dinner, an inspiring program, and a silent auction, all to support the mission of rescuing and restoring survivors. This is your chance to do something that truly matters. Reserve your seat today, or if you can't attend, make a life-changing donation at streets.org. That's streets.org. Emmaus is restoring lives. Let's help them keep going. Visit streets.org.
When it comes to buying, selling, and investing in real estate, experience matters. Communication matters. Results matter. That's why you should call Tom Cunningham. Tom is a licensed real estate broker with eXp Realty with 25 years in the business. Clients trust Tom for his expertise, doing what he says, sometimes more, and making real estate simple again. He'll make your number one goal his number one goal, listening to your needs and bringing you excellent investment opportunities. Tom Cunningham lives by the Get by Giving philosophy, working hard toward a common good. For more, visit TomCRealty.com or call or text for a meeting 708-369-7625. Remember, experience matters when it comes to buying, selling, and investing in real estate. Get the expertise of Tom Cunningham, eXp Realty. That's 708-369-7625. TomCRealty.com. Happy Days Cunningham makes sure you have the results you're looking for.
When the power goes out, life stops. Heat, AC, fridge, phones, all gone. But with a Generac home standby generator from True Power Generator Service, your home powers back on automatically, so you're never left in the dark. Book your consultation today at TruePowerGenerator.com. That's TruePowerGenerator.com. Plus, 560 listeners get a free 10-year extended warranty. Terms and conditions apply. Call for details. True Power Generator Service and Generac. It's not just a generator, it's a power move.
Medical professionals, is God calling you to contribute your medical skills for something more? Are you looking for better hours and a more flexible schedule? Since 2009, Waterleaf Women's Center in Aurora, Illinois has provided free and compassionate care to thousands of women facing an unplanned pregnancy. Due to the incredible growth of our ministry and the upcoming addition of wellness and prenatal services, we are seeking new members to join our medical team of doctors, nurses, and sonographers. Waterleaf offers a comfortable working environment, flexible hours, a Christ-centered approach, and a competitive salary. We consistently rank among the top-performing nonprofit pregnancy clinics in the nation, and our patient survey scores are phenomenal. For more information, please call Waterleaf Women's Center at 630-701-6270, 630-701-6270, or visit onechoiceonelife.org today. That website, onechoiceonelife.org, onechoiceonelife.org.
This month, Pure Talk is supporting Canines for Warriors, a terrific organization that trains rescue dogs and then pairs them up with combat vets struggling with PTSD. This is why I switched to Pure Talk. Sure, I like the unlimited talk, text, and plenty of 5G data for just $25 a month, and you will too. But you will love being in business with a company that shares your values. Dial pound 250, say micro, and switch to an American wireless company that actually stands for something. Pure Talk.
It's Cybersecurity Awareness Month, and LifeLock is here with tips to help protect your identity. Use strong passwords, set up multi-factor authentication on your accounts, report phishing, and update your software on all your devices. And for comprehensive identity protection, LifeLock is your best choice. LifeLock not only alerts you to suspicious uses of your personal information, but also fixes identity theft, guaranteed, or your money back. So stay smart, stay safe, and stay protected with a 30-day free trial at LifeLock.com. Use the promo code BECK. Terms do apply.
AM 560, The Answer.
In a world of inane superlatives, this may be the worst one since Gertrude Stein argued that Hitler should receive the Nobel Peace Prize. Jon Stewart with Zoran Mamdani.
I wish you all the best. Honestly, I think any New Yorker who looks at someone getting an opportunity, who's representing communities that have not been as represented, a Muslim, a young person, a progressive, a democratic socialist. There are so many different communities that are looking to you, and this, I hate to put it on you, as a bit of a Jackie Robinson moment. And I know that...
Incredible. 9 o'clock.
It's going to get worse. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. That's what the Senate's Republican leader says about the government shutdown now in day 29. He blames it on Democrats.
They're looking at this like it's some sort of